Legislation, that's what I'm going to do.
No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size.
Nobody is listening to your telephones.
No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size. So government programs once launched never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth. These proliferating bureaus with their thousands of regulations have cost us many of our constitutional safeguards.
The IRS's targeting of Tea Party and conservative groups came from Washington.
If someone did this for political reasons, they should be fired.
I'd like to talk to you about abuse of power.
On the advice, I exercise my Fifth Amendment right and decline to answer that question.
No mass corruption. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Elian Gonzalez has lost his appeal to try to keep him in the United States.
He was not taken at the point of a gun.
We have a photograph showing that he was taken at the point of a gun.
How many of us realize that today federal agents can invade a man's property without a warrant? They can impose a fine without a formal hearing, let alone a trial by jury, and they can seize and sell his property at auction to enforce the payment of that fine. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government.
I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
So the first topic that I nail as we start today's program, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you up front, okay? You're not allowed to laugh at this, so I don't want to hear it. No laughing. I'm serious now. Boulder Public Radio Show is on the air. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Here's how this works. Phone number is 307-363-4093. That's 307-363-4093. And, of course, pretty much everything I talk about and a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. So, okay, we're going to go to Iraq now. And at an ISIL facility, apparently there's an instructor, no laughing, there's an instructor teaching how to become a suicide bomber for Allah. So he has his students around him, 20 students and himself. And he's got the vest on, and he's saying, don't worry, this is not the real thing, this is a mock-up. Now here's how you wire this up here. And then he grabs the trigger and says, what you do is you press the trigger like this, and you guessed it, he killed himself and his entire class. I said no laughing. Shame on you. Whole classroom full of students there. And some of those were honor roll students, you know. They were going to go on to their 70-some virgins or something like that. They were going to be a big deal in the afterlife. But no more. The instructor just screwed it up for him. And if I was this guy's instructor, if I was the boss of this teacher in this case, I'd fire him. Frankly, I would. Now, by the way, Fox News has it right. Fox News doesn't call them suicide bombers. They call them homicide bombers. Here's why. What does a suicide bomber do? If you want to take it literally, what does a suicide bomber do? A suicide bomber will strap a bomb to himself, go off out into the desert somewhere, and blow himself up. Now, what does a homicide bomber do? Well, a homicide bomber does exactly, but no, a homicide bomber walks into a crowd full of people and kills everybody in the crowd. So there's a difference between the two. I'm glad Fox News nailed that one. Carrie, I'm surprised. You laughed at this, didn't you?
I didn't laugh.
You swear?
I swear. Okay. I just want to know if his name was Ahmed.
Yes, it was. Yeah, kind of like John Smith here in America or something like that. Yeah.
No, Ahmed the dead terrorist.
Yeah, Ahmed Mohammed.
No, you know who I'm talking about, the puppet, Ahmed the dead terrorist.
Oh, that guy. Oh, yeah, the comedian that's got his puppet, yeah.
Yeah, that's who. I wanted to know if it was him. And then I also want to know, what does the L in ISIL stand for?
Losers?
No, it stands for something because it's ISIS, and I know what that stands for, but I have no idea what ISIL stands for, and nobody ever knows what the stupid L stands for.
Okay, I'll look it up just to make sure I don't say something that's wrong, and then I'll announce it. Okay, I'll tell you, because I remember hearing it once, and I thought, okay, well that's what they're calling themselves, so that's what I'll call them, if that's what they named themselves.
I still like ISIS because I know what that means, and if you don't know what it means, then you probably shouldn't be calling them that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I got a kick out of it. That there's a cartoon show on right now, but it's made for adults, and it's a spy organization, and it comes on right after South Park.
Okay.
All right. Well, in this, and it really is hardcore, like almost adult humor all the way through. So just like South Park is. But interesting, long before ISIS ever became ISIS, that's what the spy organization was called. So for their television cartoon show, they have to change the name of the spy organization. Now, what are the odds?
Really cool.
Yeah, I'll look it up for you. No laughing at this. This is serious stuff.
I didn't laugh when you told the story. I just wanted to know if his name was not the dead terrorist.
Yeah, that's still making fun of, you know. That's not a good thing. All right, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Probably wasn't it. That's good. What's the name of it? You guys remember the name of that comedian? That's going to become part of his routine now, isn't it? I'm pretty much betting it is. All right, you can do what she just did. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. And one more question. Now I got to get on to a more serious story, but one more question here. So does that mean that the class graduated? Do they get extra credit for this? All right, see, you can just rack up the lines on this one. There's just a series of one-liners after this. Just before I came on the air, I saw this story, which is another one of those. Well, it's another reason why I sit in a padded room and talk to myself, and when my head explodes, the padding on the wall is for that reason. Some people might think it's because it's a radio studio and you can't have echo in the room. No, it's because my head explodes from time to time. I told you the story a while ago about a father whose son was in school, had a pen, which is just, you know, the normal kind of plastic pen that you can buy at pretty much any store that sells pens, really. And it has that little plastic tip on the top there. Okay. Well, he had bent the plastic tip down and he was twirling it. And the kid behind him said, "Oh, it looks like a gun. You might have to turn him in." And, of course, that was just a joke, right? Okay. So right away, of course, the idiot teacher, remember the story, takes the kid down to the principal's office. The police are called. The kid has to go in for psychological evaluation, all this kind of stuff. The father is outraged. I mean, beyond belief, and refuses to participate and is not going to take his kid in for psychological evaluation, and does the right thing by going to the media and saying, "Hey, can you believe your school's doing this?" That was the right thing to do. All right. The whole thing, well, by the way, at some point he cooperated only because the social services said that they believed that there were signs of abuse, even though there were no signs of abuse, because he refused to take his son in for psychological counseling. So just to clear it up, he could have gone to court, but fine. He took his kid in. They were also threatening to take his son from him. So they went through psychological evaluation, blood tests, urine tests, found out everything was just fine. There's nothing wrong with this kid. The whole thing was stupid. So I thought the story was over. The father thought the story was over. They're back. Now comes social services again, and they're demanding more of the same, and they're threatening to take the son away from the father. They're threatening to take the son away from the father and put him up for adoption. Now, I don't know what the latest... I'd like to know who are the... I got to be careful, I'm on the radio. Who are the people that are inside social services in the state that this gentleman lives in, which I believe it's New Jersey. Who are these people? And instead of going after social services, I would like to know the nutballs in charge here who are harassing this guy And I would like to go directly after them, because this kind of nonsense it's got to stop. Because this means that nobody is safe at home with their own kids. That people in social services can simply just make up anything and disrupt the entire household. Why? Because a kid was twirling a pencil in class. Where did they find these nutballs to put into social services? What kind of mental disorder did they have? And how in the world did they ever get this job? Now, the father is doing the right thing a second time around. The first place he goes is to the press, because the first time, when he was able to put an end to it, put the first fire out, it's because he went to the media, and help and support came from all over the nation. And so it held social services off for a while. I'm going to take a guess here. I don't know, because I'm not in the offices of the Nazis at social services in this state. But it seems like they didn't learn their lesson in the first time around. In fact, this is a grudge match. That's the best I could figure out. This is a grudge match. Well, you sick the media on them, they're going to get you back, boy. They're going to threaten to take the kid away from you. And what exactly what are they after here? I can't imagine what. This is why I say to you, as soon as you see a story in the paper, let's all rush to help these people. I mean, immediately. The problem is that these people have been allowed to take jobs in government, and then they got too much power. And they can turn to a parent because they were twirling a pencil. That teacher needs to lose her job. The kid was twirling a pencil in class. The principal and any other administrator at the school needs to lose his job, their jobs. The kid was just twirling a pencil in class. Who is it that did all of these tests? And who's harassing this guy now? They should all lose their jobs. Now, back up for just a minute. Years ago, I'll tell you what this reminds me of. Many years ago, well, I shouldn't say many, some years ago, remember we executed the Oklahoma City bomber, Timothy McVeigh. Remember that? And I was sitting at home watching television before the execution, watching one of these morning shows like the Today Show or Good Morning America or one of those. And they had a guy who works at the prison, some high official at the prison, being interviewed. So what happens next? Well, then they're going to take him down the hallway to the room where he's executed. Okay, fine. Then what happens? Then a guy goes and describes how you set somebody up for an execution. Okay, fine, got it. And then the execution happens in this way. Fine, okay. And then after the execution, what happens to the body? Well, then he's taken to the coroner's office for an autopsy. What? Well, I mean, immediately, that you should have seen the look on the reporter's face, which was, what? I'm sorry, okay, so after the state executes Timothy McVeigh, he's then taken for an autopsy. Why? Well, according to state law, anybody who dies in the prison, you have to perform an autopsy on him. You have to. Well, the state law says, that you got to know the cause of death in case there was foul play. And so it doesn't matter if you find a body, you got to give an autopsy. That's the law. But the reporter, I mean, doing what you and I would do, but you executed him. The state executed him. The governor was there. The sheriff was there. The warden was there. The executioner was there. The judge was there. There were many other witnesses there. They saw it. We know why the guy died. Oh, no. Can't do that. No. The law says when you execute someone in prison, just in case there was foul play, there has to be an autopsy. Really? I remember when that happened, and at the time I was saying the same thing I'm saying about this poor gentleman who might end up losing his son because of God knows what's going on in the bureaucracy. Who are these people? How is it that we have a bunch of people working in government who are incapable of any thought, reason, thought process? What do you want to call it here? Rational thinking? You've got to be kidding me. I wanted to know at the time, who was the warden? Anybody involved in this? Even the coroner, if I were the coroner, they wheel Timothy McVeigh in. Well, you got to perform an autopsy. I'm not doing that. I'm not wasting taxpayers' money. That's the law. You got it. No, you killed him in the death chamber. I'm not doing it. Where is there nobody that's going to stand up and say, this is stupid? No. Which is a big part of the, well, I mean, we can talk about a lot of problems that America's faced, but this is, I think, one of the biggest problems. You see this kind of stupidity right in front of you. Are you the person who's going to stand up and say, you know, I don't care, we're not doing this? This is wrong. This is stupid. You imagine what would have happened in Nazi Germany if somebody had done that? If everybody had just decided to start thinking. What would have happened in communist China, the old Soviet Union? Anywhere else for that matter. If somebody had ever bothered just to stand up and said, you know something, guys, we got to stop doing this. This is stupid. This is insane. When we talk about saving the country, one of my greatest worries is we're becoming the kind of country that when a stupid rule is put in front of us, everybody just complies. And nobody, or fewer and fewer people all the time, it seems to me, I hope I'm wrong, have the guts to stand up and say, you know something, we're just not going to do this anymore. I think that's one of the first steps in saving this country. Breed that in more people. Well, you're going to suffer the consequences. Fine, bring it on. Let's do this. We need more of that. All right. So, once again, I keep warning you guys, wintertime is coming. I've been watching the temperatures for the past few days over the next 10-day forecast, which, by the way, they never get the 10-day forecast right. But anyway, the next 10 days shows that the temperature is going to be getting cooler and cooler. Then what happens eventually? Snow. Wintertime, they start spraying stuff all over the roads, too. That stuff gets on your car and into your car and whatever other work vehicle you might be driving around. So how do you deal with all of that? Well, in Northeast Wyoming, it's Fast and Furious Detailing. Fast and Furious Detailing will take care of that inside and out, not just private vehicles, but commercials as well. So go see them as soon as all that stuff gets all over your car.
Bold Republic.
I'm Scott Clem, your Republican nominee for House District 31. As a lifelong resident, I know that our energy industry creates jobs and affordable energy. You need someone who won't lobby or litigate for more federal control. I will oppose global warming alarmists and federal overreach. You need someone who won't restrict your right to keep and bear arms. As a lifetime member of the NRA with an A rating, I'm dedicated to protecting our gun rights. You need someone who shares your values. As a lifelong Republican, I stand for social and fiscally conservative principles. I'm Scott Clem, asking for your vote November 4th, paid for by Scott Clem.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is 30 Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance? Upgrade your roof. Upgrade your plumbing. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 686-5002. That's 686-5002.
Here at Don's Supermarket, we do all we can to make your grocery shopping experience perfect. We make sure that the third wheel on our shopping carts are just so. Up aisle 2 is Luann with all the latest gossip. She knows everything that's going on around town, and she can't wait to tell you.
What Sally's husband
We hired a guy for the meat market named Sam. I mean, of course we did. Meat? Sam? Come on. Our cashiers are the sweetest girls you've ever met. Fast at the register, and even faster when someone pulls up to the 10-item express line with 50 items. And on aisle 3, there's the 300-pound man wearing a Batman costume.
I'm Batman.
Why? Well, I mean, why not? Add to that our fresh fruit, weekly specials on what your family likes to eat, and you get the best family-friendly shopping experience a grocery store can provide, and prices you can afford. Don's Supermarket, 1501 West 2nd Street, Gillette, across from Value Villa.
A&B Business, a leader in office technology in Gillette, Wyoming, is looking for a qualified sales consultant. The person we're looking for needs to have a desire to build relationships and solve problems. So if you're good at working with new businesses and building accounts, we can start you with an excellent existing customer base. A&B Business, offering full benefits including 401k, company car, comprehensive training, and paid vacations. The right person can plan on making a six-figure income with just a few years experience. For more information, you can send your resume to greatcareers@abbusiness.com. greatcareers@abbusiness.com.
Ma'am, I pulled you over because you failed the signal on that last turn.
I used my turn signal, I swear.
Has this ever happened to you? Have you been ticketed for not using your turn signal, even though you have? Have you checked your blinker fluid lately? Well, how about you check your local auto parts dealer for OK Blinker Fluid, an indicator lamp lubricant. With OK Blinker Fluid, your turn signals will work bright and smooth. And while you're there, ask for other OK engine products. OK engine rotator splints, OK muffler bearings, OK piston turn springs to make sure your pistons turn smoothly, and OK hypertension headlight valves. OK products. For the person who knows nothing about their car, we have everything. OK Auto Products by Snake Oil.
This show runs on lots of cigars and lots of coffee. So it's sort of like a London fog look in the studio.
With that hyper-nervous feeling, as if Jack the Ripper was on the loose.
Creepy, but entertaining. It's Glenn Woods.
So, first off, you're still not allowed to laugh at the suicide bomber class. True story, I swear. Suicide bomber class in Iraq where the instructor, while correctly demonstrating how one of those vests works, blew himself up in the entire class. Last I heard, 21 people in all are dead. Again, if I were the principal of that school, I'd fire that teacher. So, and all of the kids there that died in that, well, they're just completely screwed out of heaven. I mean, they don't get their 70-some virgins. It isn't going to happen anymore. So we need more instructors like that. So I don't know where we recruit all of that, but okay. I was just talking to folks, if you're just joining me, about the stupidity that we face. Like, for example, this gentleman, I believe is in New Jersey, who faces losing his son when all of his son was doing was twirling a pencil in class. And he ran headlong into the bureaucracy, the father did. And the bureaucracy is threatening to take his son and put him up for adoption. And by the way, where are the court hearings on this? No, it's just bureaucracy run amok. And what I've been saying to you folks is if we don't stand up against this, well then, as a nation, where do we wind up? Get a load of this story here. I got two for you. We're going to get into them in just a few minutes. One of them, TSA confiscates a ray gun belt because, you know, terrorism. A ray gun belt. Well, it's a belt buckle that is a tiny thing that looks like a ray gun from a 1950s sci-fi movie. Something that Buck Rogers would have had. Something like that. Next story I'm going to hit you with is kids took a homecoming picture. Have you seen this making its way around the internet? They took a homecoming picture and pandemonium ensues because they were holding what looks like a couple of guns or something like that. Actually, they weren't even real guns from my understanding of the story, but we'll look into it. And now people are in a panic over this. And if we just stand by and let these nutballs do this, then as a nation, we are completely, absolutely beyond sunk. So we're going to take a look at it next. Hang in there.
So let's take a look at this link between these recent teen killers and video games.
Violent video games increase aggressive behavior
as much as lead exposure decreases children's IQ scores.
Where is the artistic value of shooting innocent victims?
They put guns in the hands of little kids and teach them how to kill.
He was trained to kill with Call of Duty and other video games.
Is it true that violent video games make people more violent? I'm a professor of economics at the University of Texas at Arlington, and a casual gamer. I'm also a parent of children who enjoy video games, and I was curious to find out if video games could cause them to harm others. So I did some research. I conducted 3 studies to investigate the link between real-world video game usage and actual crime or fighting. These studies used different methodologies and different data sources, and in all 3 cases, I found that more video game playing is actually associated with less real-life violence. That's right, less. A 100% increase in violent video game consumption led to a 1% statistically measurable decrease in violent crime. Okay, that's not a big decrease, but it undermines the claim that violent video games increase violence. So how could virtual violence decrease actual violence? One theory is catharsis, which is to say letting off steam. One might vent violent impulses through a video game rather than upon an actual person. Another theory has to do with time management. Even without a cathartic effect, every hour that people are sitting at home playing video games is an hour that they're not out on the streets getting into trouble. I'm not alone in my findings. Recently, other researchers have published findings that cast further doubt on the link between violent video games and actual violence. But all this means that, however well-intentioned the calls for restrictions on violent video games are, as a society, we would be censoring games based on a mistaken belief that they cause violence, and could actually be leaving Americans exposed to more real-life harm. And calls for such censorship continue, as in Congress's recently proposed Video Games Ratings Enforcement Act, and the 2011 Supreme Court case Brown versus Entertainment Merchants Association. And there's even more at stake if we were to allow this censorship. Video games have changed a lot in the past 30 years. What were once simple black and white blocks and nearly indiscernible images flickering on a television screen are now lifelike beings whose actions we experience on a visceral level. Some games now tell stories and evoke emotional responses similar to the finest literature, film, or theater. And video games are perhaps the fastest developing form of artistic expression ever devised. The artistry and techniques used by game creators continues to expand and evolve rapidly. Restrictive legislation would curb the freedom of artists and possibly stop valuable stories and content from ever being shared. Contrary to popular belief, youth violence has steadily declined over the past 20 years, exactly when video games have become popular. This is hardly consistent with the idea of games causing violence. When people are violent, it's not because games made them that way.
I've tried just about everything, and I can't seem to lose weight.
What if I told you there was something you could do?
Really? What? I'll do anything.
Eat less, move more.
And?
That's it.
But how does it work?
It's simple, really. You eat less food, and you move around more than you do now.
It gets more complicated the more you describe it. Isn't there a pill I can take?
Haven't you taken pills for dieting?
I sure have.
How'd that work out?
I'm fatter now than I've ever been. Can't I just get a doctor to staple my stomach shut?
You'd rather have invasive surgery than lose weight by eating less and moving around?
At least I'd be asleep. How much will it cost?
Nothing. It will cost nothing. In fact, you might actually save money.
This is starting to sound like some sort of scam you do to an old person.
Find out today how you can eat less and move more by going outside. A public service announcement of American Standard Media.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. For everybody who is just joining me, let me get you up to speed real quick. So, okay, I gave you the story of an execution in Oklahoma where after the guy was executed, they had to perform an autopsy because the law is when somebody dies in prison, there has to be an autopsy in case there was foul play. So what if they killed him in the execution chamber with all sorts of witnesses, including the governor and the warden and the judge and the sheriff? This is the kind of world we're living in right now, where a father faces losing his son because the son was twirling a pencil in class, and somebody said, that looks like a gun. And now the father actually faces losing his son over that. This is the world we're living in right now. All right, next reading this, and we are sunk as a nation if we do not stand up to these nutballs and not just beat them in court, but make sure they lose their jobs. And I mean permanently. Let's go to the TSA. Oh, they're supposed to be protecting us to make flying safe for everybody. Well, that's what's supposed to be happening here as they pat down grandma in her wheelchair and check to find what that little gooey thing is in the back of her Depends. Award-winning videographer Sean Malone, had a ray gun belt buckle. And for those that are watching on the video stream, I'm going to show you what that ray gun belt buckle looks like. For everybody listening on radio stations, just picture an old-fashioned ray gun like you would see back in the 1950s horrible black and white movie. Okay, I just want you to picture that for a moment. That is the kind of ray gun he's talking about here. So he stopped by the TSA, and they have to confiscate the thing because, you know, terrorism. Well, it's a replica of a weapon. Yeah, it's a replica of a weapon. Therefore, he's not allowed to bring it on the airplane. Okay, a replica of what kind of weapon? This is where all common sense goes out the window. It's the replica of a fake weapon. There's no such thing as a ray gun. This is who's keeping you safe at airports, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, Jeff. What you got for me? Jeff, you there? All right, he was on the line, but I don't hear him right now. If you want to try back, 307-363-4093 is the number. That's 307-363-4093. So you're brave, TSA. Now, at this point, got to ask the question, if this is the kind of thing that, when we laugh about it, I mean, I put these pictures up for you guys of the gray gun, and we laugh about it. Oh, isn't that silly? And yet we continue to let them do this. We continue to let them get away with this. We continue to allow TSA pat-downs. Despite the multiple abuses I've shown you of the TSA, we continue to allow this to happen as a country. The nutballs are in charge, and we're letting them. Now, I report to you as often as I can stories of people who stand up to this kind of nonsense, fight and win, and those people are out there, and God bless them. And that's why whenever we see one of these stories, we got to rush around them. I know you're busy. I know you are. But do what you can to support them. Great example. And by the way, this is not a victory yet. So I told you this story about Houston, Texas, where the mayor subpoenaed all of the Christian churches. Why didn't you go out to Muslim churches? I don't know. But the Christian churches in the area, you need to turn over your sermons, your emails, your private conversations, your tweets, and so on and so on. And of course, there's been a controversy about the First Amendment issues all over the country. People have been mailing Bibles. Now, I would have mailed the First Amendment. I understand the Bible thing. But in this case, the First Amendment, well, it caused them to back off just a little bit. Here's the story. Mayor of Houston announced today, that the city will withdraw subpoenas for sermons from 5 pastors who publicly opposed an ordinance banning discrimination against homosexual, transgendered residents, in the Houston Chronicle reports. Now, don't think that this is over, because she's just saying, well, you don't have to turn over your sermons. But there's still plenty of things that they have to turn over. There's emails that have to be turned over. That's the start of it. There's emails that have to be turned over. Well, they got a letter that just took out the sermon part. Have you guys been meeting and talking about this city ordinance? And we got to see transcripts of your private discussions. Have you been sending message by Facebook and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? All sorts of transcript stuff. But we just don't need to see your sermons now. So are they really backing off on this? No. And it's nice that people from around the country, don't get me wrong, it's a good sign that people from all over the country are sending the mayor of Houston Bibles. But so far, they've said they've only received about 1,000. That woman's office with the First Amendment from all over the country. Now, don't forget what I told you originally on this, too. We also let them get away with something else. These churches put themselves in this position, to be clear about it. Well, in order to get tax-exempt status as a church, you have to agree to certain things. And one of the things you agree to is you're not going to be politically active. Well, as a church, doesn't that take away your rights? Yeah. You have to voluntarily sign away some of your rights in order to get tax-exempt status. These are the people who we're dealing with. And as a nation, if we don't stand up to it, and we got to stand up and be fearless about it, we got to rally around those people who are caught in this fight. When you see, like the pastors of these churches in Houston, in this fight, it's one thing when you hear me talk about it and you read it in the newspaper and you go, oh my Lord, that's horrible. But what do you do to help? We'll talk about that next.
Hello, my name's Vicki Tuning, and I live in Gillette, Wyoming. I'm with the nonprofit group Citizens Protecting Wyoming. Citizens Protecting Wyoming is a nonpartisan organization that is hosting a statewide rally on the steps of the Capitol building Saturday, November 1st at 11 a.m. I really appreciate this great opportunity to invite all of you statewide to attend this important event. This rally will center around Matt Mead's Refugee Resettlement Program. We the people need answers. Citizens Protecting Wyoming wants to invite everyone statewide to join us on the steps of the Capitol building in Cheyenne, Wyoming, November 1st at 11 a.m. For more information, contact us at info@citizensprotectingwyoming.org or at 307-441-4230. I look forward to seeing everyone there.
Hey, Steve! Hey, I'm sorry, you're not Steve. Oh, hey, Steve!
I'm over here!
Oh, good. I thought I'd never find you. You know, the Alpha Saloon throws a great Halloween party.
Yes, they do. And all these people have great costumes.
Yeah, they do. Hey, who are all these people anyway? The Alpha Saloon is throwing a Halloween party. Friday, October 31st, starting at 7 o'clock. Everyone wearing a costume will be given a free beer or well drink. Prizes for first, second, and third place costume. The Office Saloon, North Highway 1416, out towards the airport.
I'm Scott Clem, your Republican nominee for House District 31. As a lifelong resident, I know that our energy industry creates jobs in affordable energy. You need someone who won't lobby or litigate for more federal control. I will oppose global warming alarmists and federal overreach. You need someone who won't restrict your right to keep and bear arms. As a lifetime member of the NRA with an A rating, I'm dedicated to protecting our gun rights. You need someone who shares your values. As a lifelong Republican, I stand for social and fiscally conservative principles. I'm Scott Clem, asking for your vote November 4th, paid for by Scott Clem.
You know, when it comes to feeding your animals, some brand names just stand out above the rest. That's why Thar's Feed and Ranch Supplies carries names like Purina and Hubbard and many other quality brand names that you know and trust. That's why Thar's Feed and Ranch Supply is another name that you can trust when it comes to taking care of your animals in Gillette, Wyoming, 100 South Burmer Road, 682-9501. Trick or treat!
Oh, aren't you precious? And looks like you've done really well for yourself.
Yeah, I was walking all over the neighborhood farther than anyone else. Hey, what are you doing? That's my candy.
Oh, you didn't earn that. Sharing is caring, you know. There are kids out there who are less fortunate and can't afford a costume this year.
Yeah, well, they can go out and mow lawns and earn money like I did.
Here you go, kid! Hey, 99%! 99%! They were out there trick-or-treating.
But they're the less fortunate.
But they never left the house. I did all the work.
Well, and you know, I'm afraid there's just not enough here. We're going to have to ask you to go out and get some more.
But...
Be back by 9. That's bedtime. See you later.
What's a good cup of coffee if you can't spit it across the dashboard now and then, right? Oh, yeah, and ruin a good work shirt. Sure, burn the hell out of your inner thighs. We know what you need, though, in a radio program.
Irreverent but honest, and tastefully tacky. It's Woods.
So that last false commercial that I just ran there reminded me of something. For those who don't pay attention to commercial breaks, you really ought to, because we throw stuff in there. That was something done a few years ago, played every Halloween, called a Socialist Halloween. And a Socialist Halloween is where a kid who has worked hard mowing lawns and earned money to get a costume so he could trick or treat has most of his candy taken from him by a mom. And the mom is, well, her kids are just lazy and they're less fortunate. So, well, you can go out and mow lawns, but you probably need a permit for that. You can go out and maybe get, open up a lemonade stand, earn some money for a Halloween costume. Nope, darn it. They shut those things down, don't they? Hi, Jeff. Glad you called back. What you got for me?
Hey, Glenn, my head is about to explode. I've had it. I am so over it. I mean, this is America, land of the free, which means you are going to be offended.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't handle being offended and not go take it to court or whatnot and make all these stupid rules, get out.
Yeah. Well, you see, in order to live in a free country, you have to be...
Exactly. A free country, you're going to have differing opinions. You're going to be offended. But that's what makes it a great country.
You have to do that. You have to act like an adult in order to live in freedom. But isn't it interesting? The very people who preach to us about tolerance are the people who are intolerant.
Yeah, that reminds me of a great quote from a movie by the past Robin Williams. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, "We are toys of tolerance, but there's only so much that we can tolerate."
Yeah, and at some point. Well, okay, look, the best thing to do, where are you right now, physically speaking?
I'm in my car, heading back to the shop.
Okay. A good idea is, if you feel like your head's about to explode, is make sure that your windows are cracked. Because you know what happens when your airbag goes off and your windows are closed?
It blows out the windows.
Oh, yeah. That could be really bad. And you damage your eardrums and stuff like that. So if your brain is about to explode, I would suggest cracking the windows just a little bit so there's a pressure difference there when the head explodes doing something like this. A primal scream is perfectly welcome now and then, especially when you're driving down the highway.
Exactly.
All right. Glad I gave you a chance.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks for you. Well, you can call and vent anytime you want, Jeff. That's fine. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. So think about it now. You live in a country where you, in some places, need a permit if you want to mow the lawn as a kid. I used to do that as a kid. If you want to open up a lemonade stand to earn some money. Oh, wait, I got to get into this next story for you. Then I can tell you what you do about it, because you got to do something about this. No, you need to be on board helping us fight all this stuff. The next story is going to be another cranial explosion moment. Just warning you in advance. Hang in there. I'll tell you all about it. Then I'll tell you what we should be doing about it, but we're not.
A new trend in offices across the country. More and more people are switching to fetal position desks so that they can curl up in a ball on the floor while they work. Aaron Vaughn has a story.
I'm here at the offices of Slash Forward Marketing, one of the many companies where employees are throwing out their chairs in favor of working from the fetal position. Wellness experts say it's the best way to stay healthy and productive at work.
The human body isn't meant to sit at a desk for 6 or 7 hours. The natural position, especially in the workplace, is to shut down completely, return to a womb-like state, and rock back and forth to soothe yourself.
A new study shows that the healthiest way to deal with the penetrating drudgery of the workday is to work from a comfortable surface with your back curved, head tucked in, and your arms wrapped around you to block out the outside world.
I work at a computer all day. Sitting in a chair, I found that my neck would hurt, my back would hurt. I'd spend full days watching the minutes of my life slip away.
Company President Robert Bettendorf says the trend is catching on with his employees.
We found that before we switched over to these desks, employees were already assuming the fetal position throughout the day, putting their heads between their knees and shutting it all out for even just a few minutes. It's what people naturally wanted to do.
Fetal position desks, which are even popping up in offices like Google and Facebook, come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Some have adjustable height so you can cower underneath them, while more expensive options include a warm, pulsating blanket for workers to wrap themselves in to feel calm. But many people are making their own.
I've rigged this up so I can type comfortably and my arms won't get tired. Plus, it's got speakers so I can listen to a comforting voice saying shh over and over again.
The workday goes by a lot faster. I feel better, I have more energy, and I don't get that 2:30 feeling anymore where I'm like, oh no, didn't I want to be a novelist? Before I know it, I'm at home watching Netflix in the fetal position on my bed.
Some offices are rethinking assigned seating altogether, letting employees work however and wherever they want. The result? Surprising collaborations and a free exchange of ideas. But if you're not ready to give up your traditional desk entirely, experts say you can still get some of the benefits of fetal position desks with a few simple exercises.
We recommend that all workers take 20 to 30 minutes out of every day to write the word suicide over and over again in a Google Doc. Make that a part of your routine.
I've tried a fetal position desk myself, and I can say it's a great way to get through the day.
Thanks, Aaron. I hate my job. Next up, new evidence suggests Shakespeare's plays may have been boring.
It is the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. And you can do what Jeff just did. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. And, of course, pretty much everything I talk about and a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. Okay, get a load of this story here. You've probably seen this going viral on the Internet. Kids took homecoming pictures with toy guns, and pandemonium ensues. Now, when you take a look at these kids, and they look really sweet. They're young. They look maybe all of like 14 years old, is my guess. Who knows? It could be 15 or so. Tiny little kids, too, almost kind of geekish looking. I don't mean that as a put down. They just look like a couple of cute little geeks. And he is a black suit with a blue shirt and a light blue tie, dark blue shirt, light blue tie. She's wearing this cute coral greenish dress. And then they're holding toy guns because next to each other, they kind of look like a mobster and wife. All right, well, this, of course, in Taunton, Massachusetts. Where else? High school students were all dressed up for their homecoming dance when they decided to take a few pictures. So they pick up some airsoft rifles because they're enthusiasts of them, according to the Facebook page. And they pose, looking kind of like they're, going all gangster or mobster, if you will. Predictably, the school intercepted the photo as a threat to shoot up the dance. Administrators suspended the students for 10 days. All right. This is the world we're currently living in right now. And I want to know, who are these school administrators and why do they still have jobs? Well, okay, the people of Massachusetts were probably thinking, knowing the liberals in Massachusetts, oh, they did the right thing because, those toy guns could possibly... Yeah, okay, this is what we're dealing with here, folks. When you see stories like this, the story that I began the hour with, the hour with the story of a gentleman who his son was twirling a pen in class, and somebody said, "Oh, looks like he's pointing a gun." Okay, now and he wasn't. Of course, he's twirling a pen. We've all done it. But now the father just might lose his son up for adoption. The father could end up going to jail. Meanwhile, the TSA sees a guy wearing a belt buckle that looks like a ray gun from a 1950s sci-fi movie. Oh, you can't, because not even replicas of weapons are not allowed. There is no such thing as a ray gun. It doesn't really exist. But that has to be confiscated for your safety. This is who we're dealing with now. And the mayor of Houston, Texas, who wants to see, now she did back off at least on the sermons, but still she wants all sorts of personal information from the churches and what they talk about. Not understanding the First Amendment. This is who we're dealing with in America. How does this continue? It's not just because of who runs for office. I look at the Republican Party, and I think they're just as much of a mess as the Democrat Party. We don't have much of a choice here. But between the bureaucrats and the politicians, I'm just asking you to do something for the love of God. When you hear a story like what's happening in Houston, Texas, could you do your nation a favor and mail that woman a copy of the First Amendment? The gentleman who I told you might lose his son, that was actually, seriously, DHS, or what do you call it, social services, backed off for a little while because of publicity from around the nation. The whole thing was over for a while because people from around the nation were writing and calling and sending emails and putting pressure on social services in the state of New Jersey to back off from this guy. Remember what happened at the Bundy Ranch? People showed up and defended Clive and Bundy. And that's what backed off the BLM. See, we win when we actually show up for the fight. And the problem is, folks, we haven't been showing up for the fight. I understand when you listen to a show like this and you pick up a newspaper, you turn on the evening news and you go, oh my, that's just disgusting. Can you believe what's going on here? Can you believe what's happening to our nation? Jeff just did it. His head's about to explode in his car over issues like this. And I understand that. I appreciate that. All right. So my question to you is, after you hear stuff like this and your head's about to explode, I'm not saying that you get involved 24/7, because you, unlike a lot of people that I complain about, actually have a legitimate job. You probably have kids to take care of. Okay. I've said this before on this radio show. I'm asking you again. We're coming up on election time right now. Pick your cause. See, last time I did this, I had a woman who called and said, you know what I'm going to do from now on? I'm going to start showing up at school board meetings. And she does. She still does. That's what I'm talking about. Pick your cause. Pick your thing. What is it that you want to fight for? One thing. Okay. Find out who is involved in that fight. Get a hold of them and offer your services. Do something. Remember back World War II, everybody did their part. Everybody. Every day did their part for the war effort, whether they were on the front line or back here at home. So when people turn, and I hear this all the time, turn and say, Glenn, how do we take our country back? And I hear this all the time. The answer is, well, step one, show up to the fight. The reason these nutballs have been winning and taking so much ground, and we've been losing, is, well, we'll sit around with our friends and have a few beers and complain. But it hasn't gone much further than that. Pick your cause. Pick one thing. And stick with it. Don't just, send a few emails and think you're done. Stick with it.
Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro, and this is Reality Check. Everything you know about Michael Brown's a lie. The media, the politicians, the race baiters, They all told you the story of an innocent young unarmed black teen, the gentle giant, murdered in cold blood by a vicious white cop representing the evil establishment. Al Sharpton, who's always the first guy on the scene when a black person is killed by a white guy, or, in the case of St. Trayvon of the Blessed Hoodie, a white Hispanic, described Brown as a, quote, gentle giant as well. Over at Daily Kos, a writer described Brown thusly: a big guy who his family called their gentle giant, built to be a high school football player, direct from central casting, but Mike was too timid for the sport. According to friends and family, he had never been in a fight in his life. CNN, the Daily Mail, all of them called him a gentle giant. And the man who deprived the world of this gentle giant was, of course, Officer Darren Wilson. Originally, we were told that Wilson shot Brown from behind after pulling over the gentle giant for walking in the middle of the street, a situation President Obama would later term walking while black. Supposedly, Wilson pulled the 6'5", 289-pound Brown through his driver's side window, but Brown then escaped and ran away from this mad emissary of police brutality. Wilson then allegedly shot the fleeing Brown from behind, at which point the unarmed Brown turned around, raised his hands in the universal sign of surrender, and perished in a hail of bullets. Here's the reality. All of this was a lie. The first crack in the myth of St. Michael, the gentle giant, came in the form of a security tape, taken just minutes before the fatal confrontation with Officer Wilson. According to police reports, the gentle giant, who had never been in a fight and was too timid to play football, grabbed a small attendant and slammed him into a display case. He also stole a box of Swisher Sweets, which are cheap cigars. The next crack in the St. Michael story, the New York Times reported that Michael Brown was, quote, no angel. The report explained he dabbled in drugs and alcohol, which presumably is why he stole the Swisher Sweets, since Swisher Sweets are routinely used to smoke pot. Indeed, Brown's system was chock full of THC during the incident with Officer Wilson, autopsy later showed. The New York Times report also explained that Brown had, quote, taken to rapping in recent months, producing lyrics that were by turns contemplative and vulgar. The media and politicians cried bloody murder when this information began to tarnish the candlelit altar they'd built for St. Michael. Just because Brown had strong-arm robbed a convenience store while high and cut some vile rap videos didn't mean he deserved to be shot, which of course was true. But the rest of the mythical tale of the martyrdom of Michael Brown quickly began falling apart as well. Officer Wilson's side of the story began to come out in dribs and drabs. After pulling Brown over, Wilson said, Wilson tried to get out of his car. Brown then shut the door on him and pushed himself through the driver's side window. He went for Wilson's weapon, whereupon Wilson fired the gun in the vehicle. Brown ran. Wilson chased him. Brown then turned around and charged Wilson, whereupon Wilson shot him several times. According to the Washington Post, quote, more than a half dozen unnamed black witnesses have provided testimony that supports Wilson's account of the events. Blood spatter analysis, shell casings, and ballistics tests also support Wilson's account of the shooting, the Post sources said. Now, a new autopsy report revealed by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, which, by the way, was the same newspaper that originally termed Brown a gentle giant, showed that Brown's body had a graze wound on his thumb. The wound contained matter, quote, consistent with products that are discharged from the barrel of a firearm. That can only happen at close range. So close, in fact, that there was no stippling, a patterning of gunpowder that won't appear within an inch of the gun barrel. In other words, as San Francisco medical examiner Dr. Judy Melanik said, quote, this guy's reaching for the gun. The autopsy backs up the altercation at the car as well. Brown's skin was found on the exterior of the vehicle. CNN reports that blood from Michael Brown was found on Wilson's uniform, police car, and gun. The autopsy even shows Brown wasn't shot with his hands up. According to the autopsy report, the gunshot wound to Brown's upper dorsal right arm demonstrated that the direction of the shot was slightly upward, backward, and leftward. That means, according to Melanik, the shot traveled from the back of the arm to the inner arm, which means Brown's palms could not have been facing Wilson. The rage continues, of course, because facts don't matter when myths have already taken root. Benjamin Crump, the Brown family lawyer, he was also the family lawyer for the Martin family, he said that family and supporters will not be persuaded by the autopsy report or eyewitness statements, according to the Washington Post. And of course, local politicians have pledged the evidence won't change anything either. Meanwhile, the disciples of Michael Brown pay tribute to his gentle giantness by fighting over how to capitalize on his supposed martyrdom. Michael Brown's mother, Leslie McSpadden, reportedly got into a fight with Brown's grandmother and cousin when she found them selling Michael Brown merchandise. The altercation ended, apparently, with another unnamed person smacking Brown's cousin in the face with a pipe or a pole, resulting in his hospitalization. The suspect then stole a box from the scene containing some $1,400. But never mind. The legacy of Michael Brown, gentle giant, will go on. Another martyr has joined the racial testament, another fake black mark on white racist police forces everywhere. And the left's aggressive construction of the myth of St. Michael the Gentle Giant ensures that more young black men will see police as the enemy, that confrontations will escalate, and that the left will have many more future opportunities to add to their perverse canon.
Bold Republic.
If you got a business, you didn't build that. You didn't get there on your own.
The full power of centralized government. This was the very thing the Founding Fathers sought to minimize. They knew that governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose.
Took this land by eminent domain.
They said, well, we're not going to make an offer, but we're going to give you a price.
But 10 years later, the land is just piles of rubble.
I said this once or twice, but it bears repeating.
If you like your healthcare plan,
you can keep it, period.
That this website could approach $1 billion? Are we looking at the first $1 billion website in history?
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
They also knew, those Founding Fathers, that outside of its legitimate functions, government does nothing as well or as economically as the private sector of the economy.
The big three U.S. automakers, they have not managed that industry the way they should have.
We were told by the President we must accept a greater government activity in the affairs of the people. The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant, it's just that they know so much that isn't so. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
This hour of the Bold Republic Radio Show is sponsored by Common Core Math, making sure that your kids will never be able to figure out how much debt the federal government has stuck.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show for a Wednesday. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Here's how this works. You call the show with whatever you want to talk about. DJ, I'm opening up the phones here. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. And since I've opened up the phones, that means you can change the subject, talk whatever you want to talk about. Interrupt me if you have to. And for those watching on the video stream, you can go ahead and click on the window that's supposed to be right in front of me here and then drop in questions, comments, obnoxious, snotty remarks, and I'll go ahead and respond to all of that. So since it's an election year and, well, that's next week, take a look at some problems here because, you know, there's no such thing as voter fraud or anything like that, right? No, there would never be any kind of voter fraud. Even the President of the United States is sure that you only get to vote once.
And because early voting runs through this Friday, you don't have to wait till election day. You can vote all week. I mean, you can only vote once. This isn't Chicago now.
Now, right after that, I'm kidding. I really didn't mean that. I mean, Chicago, God bless. I mean, I'm from Chicago. Okay. Vote buying scheme in Chicago is the headline. Really? That's actually the headline. There was a vote buying scheme in Chicago. Okay, here's how this works. And the woman is trying to say that she didn't know, and so, but still. Fox 32 from Chicago says that there was a representative offering gift cards to people who came in with a voting slip. So in other words, you vote, come in with a voting slip, they'll give away gift cards. Well, that's not exactly it, says the people who work for this woman's campaign. Staffers in the 5th Ward routinely go out and buy gift cards that amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars with the approval of the alderman. By the way, this is all illegal, just so you know. They're not allowed to do that. But they're just offering gift cards if people vote, right? You're not allowed to do this. It's certainly possible that low-level staffers, they put this on Facebook, by the way, maybe didn't know about it, but still they had to get all the money to buy all these gift cards, and they put it on Facebook. Hey, how would you like to get a free gift card for whatever? Well, then you just go ahead and show that you voted, and we'll go ahead and give you these gift cards. There's another point here that the local TV station mixed as well, that besides just saying that, well, you know, it's illegal actually to do this. This didn't take place in a campaign headquarters, but the city's official office. So do the law of Illinois allow for a project like this to happen? Absolutely not. Okay, but so this is like what I told you guys yesterday about this Get Out the Vote campaign now this is not done by an official office, but by Cosmopolitan magazine. Once again, let's get people out to vote. We're going to get a bunch of college kids out to vote. Oh yeah, we're going to show up with swag. What's what they call it. We're going to show up with all sorts of swag, and we're going to show up with food and models for them to gawk at, and we're going to get them to the polls because these people have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Now, if you want to see what I'm talking about, what we need to be careful of, there's video proof of it. I've told you about those voting machines, that when you touch them, the vote automatically jumps to the Democrat. Would you like to see a video of it? All right, you go to boldrepublic.com. That's my website, boldrepublic.com. And when you get there, you go to my reading assignment page. It's down the right-hand column. And you will see, you can click on the story. Up comes a video where a guy's trying to vote. He tries to touch a name Anderson, who's a Republican. And the name above it for state legislator is Mike Jacobs for a state legislator. And of course, that's a Democrat. And immediately it just clicks to his name. But you know, there's no voter fraud in America. And talking about voter fraud is, what, racist? Or something like that. So we're coming up on election time. My main concern coming up on election time is that low information voters are going to show up to the polls. And I keep having this conversation with people. You know, the best thing you can do besides vote, because people keep telling me, get on the air, Glenn, and tell people to get out there and vote. All right, I got a better idea. First off, get yourself informed as to what's really going on. That's step one. Would you do that? Okay. Step two, I don't want you to get into arguments with friends and family, but can you do what you can to at least make sure that they know what they're talking about? And if they just simply don't know what they're talking about, I wouldn't encourage them to vote. I know a lot of people get upset with me when I say that. That's the problem that we have. The people that I was talking about last hour, how do they wind up in important positions? So let's go back. I want to play this again because I think it is that important. Let's go back. Remember, it was Cosmopolitan magazine, that magazine, that wants to get a bunch of college kids on buses and take them to polls in North Carolina because there's a Democrat that they want to make sure she wins. All right. Why would you want a bunch of college students? Why wouldn't you go after senior citizens? There's so many other groups I can think of that you'd want to load onto a bus. Here's why you want the college students.
Who sings the hit song Happy?
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell.
That's right.
There you go.
Good job.
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell Williams, that's right.
What is Benghazi?
Do you know what the reason why Benghazi's in the news?
That's a place? That sounds like a place to me.
Benghazi. It's a place in Afghanistan.
I'm Michelle Fields for PJTV, and we're out here at George Washington University asking young Hillary Clinton supporters what they think her biggest accomplishment was as Secretary of State.
And the idea of having a woman as president is really exciting. So I think it would be cool.
What do you think is her greatest achievement as Secretary of State?
I'm not really sure. I'm not that into politics.
I don't know. It's a tough question. I don't know. I really don't know.
Definitely not the Benghazi ordeal. Right?
Whoa. I have no clue. There's just so many. Just the fact that she's been such a world leader.
I'm here at American University asking students what they think about concealed carry in Washington, D.C.
I'm not a fan of guns, and I think it's a little weird that someone can carry a gun around and you wouldn't know it.
So you're saying like around here there's probably not any criminals that have guns illegally carrying around?
Do I think criminals, people have illegal guns?
Yeah, around here.
They might, but it's not highly likely.
So we're at Harvard University talking with students, asking them what is a greater threat to world peace, ISIS or America?
Oh, America.
In many ways, I have to think it's America, because America's making decisions that are much more likely to affect the world.
What is a greater threat to world peace, America or ISIS?
I think American imperialism and our protection of oil interests in the Middle East are destabilizing the region and allowing groups like ISIS to gain power.
As a Western civilization, we're to blame for a lot of the problems that we're facing now. I don't think anyone would argue that we didn't create the problem of ISIS ourselves.
We are, at some level, the cause of it.
The amount of spending that America has on causes of potential destruction in the world is really outlandish. We've been learning about this recently, how much America spends on defense mechanisms alone, and it's really quite astounding compared to any other country in the world, really.
I just had an interesting conversation last night with a couple of my neighbors in that...
Who is the vice president?
Vice president, oh my god. I'm gonna pass.
Okay, so what is the First Amendment?
Wait, no.
Wait, let me think. Yeah, I don't know.
Become a U.S. citizen. Immigrants must pass the U.S. citizen test. Do you know how many stripes are on the American flag?
I don't know, like 4?
How many stripes are on the American flag?
52, 53, 31.
I don't know. Like 50? Independence Day was first celebrated in what year?
1787.
July 4th.
So these are the people that they want to show up at the polls and vote. By the way, little side note for you, the president was at another speaking engagement, and halfway through it, he was encouraging people to get out and get involved and vote. And once again, people started to get up and walk out of the speech. President of the United States is speaking somewhere, and I guess the thrill is gone, like the old song says, because people are getting up and leaving. So I would encourage you to do this. Before people go out and vote, which is certainly their right, could you stop them and just give them a pop quiz and see if they know what's going on? And if they don't know what's going on, do your country a favor and encourage them not to vote. Do you pay much attention to politics? So what, do you get your news from Facebook, Twitter, maybe some late-night comedy show? Do you even have any idea who your senator is? Who's the vice president? So how do you decide who you're going to vote for? What, do you flip a coin? Every election season there are get-out-the-vote campaigns, asking completely unqualified voters to show up at the polls at the last minute and flip a coin. So, this election season, Bold Republic is sponsoring the Stay Out of the Vote campaign. If you spent the past 2 years completely uninformed and out of the loop, then do your country a favor. Don't show up at the polls. Don't vote. Take the day off. Go to the beach. Hang out at your local bar. Watch a ball game instead. Or check out some reality TV. Our nation's in sad shape because people like you have been voting. So this year, do your country a favor. Stay home. Stay out of the vote. America is depending on your apathy. Brought to you by the Campaign to Promote Uninformed Voter Apathy. And that's what this is, the campaign to promote uninformed voter apathy. And I'd like to think of it that way. Everybody has the right to vote, but with that comes a responsibility. And the number of people who have no clue what they're talking about is absolutely astounding. The people who cram for the political exam just minutes before they even go into the polling station. Those people who've actually said to my face, I don't even know who I'm going to vote for until I'm in the voting booth. So what? It's an emotional decision? It's not based on fact. Oh, you guys are great. You guys are really great. Do us all a favor. Do your country a favor. Stay out. Or, hey, you got just under a week. Okay, if you can cram starting now, but if you're going to wait for the weekend to do it, do us a favor, stay home. All right, now, speaking of the weekend, it is getting cooler out there, especially in the early morning hours, and there's a lot of people out there trying to get some hunting in this season, and since it's getting cooler out there, it's not just important that you gather all of the hunting gear that you needed as far as bows, arrows, guns, bullets, things like that. What about stuff to keep you warm? All right, there's all sorts of stuff to keep you warm. Not just clothing, by the way. Rocky Mountain Discount Sports has it. All the, cold weather hunting gear that you need. right there at 5 locations throughout Wyoming, including Casper, Wyoming, and Gillette, Wyoming. Check them out online for the latest deals. Rocky Mountain Discount Sports.
What do opal and pink tourmaline have in common? This is Bruce at Marshall Jewelry in Gillette. Opal and pink tourmaline alternate as the birthstone for October. The word tourmaline comes from the old Sinhalese termali, which means mixed stones. Tourmaline occurs in more colors than any other gemstone, with over 1,200 known shades. Pink is usually used as the birthstone color. It ranges from a light baby pink to a rich reddish or purplish pink color. Here at Marshall Jewelry, we have both loose and mounted pink tourmaline available with the jewelry starting at around $200. Marshall Jewelry, where she'll love it, guaranteed.
Are you looking for some hay? Check out the large variety at Thar's Feed and Ranch Supply. They really know their stuff. And no matter what your needs are, Thar's can fill it. And at reasonable prices, too. Ask the experts at Thar's and they'll help you keep your animals healthy. Thar's Feed and Ranch Supply, Gillette, Wyoming, 100 South Burmer Road, 682-9501.
I'm Scott Clem, your Republican nominee for House District 31. As a lifelong resident, I know that our energy industry creates jobs and affordable energy. You need someone who won't lobby or litigate for more federal control. I will oppose global warming alarmists and federal overreach. You need someone who won't restrict your right to keep and bear arms. As a lifetime member of the NRA with an A rating, I'm dedicated to protecting our gun rights. You need someone who shares your values. As a lifelong Republican, I stand for social and fiscally conservative principles. I'm Scott Clem, asking for your vote November 4th, paid for by Scott Clem.
You could stay at home and watch the big game all alone. Or you can go to Lakeside Liquor and watch the big game on the big screen with all your friends. $2 off pizza during the game. Buckets of beer. 6 for $10 during the game. And 16-ounce Bud Light 5 for $15. Big games were meant to be watched in a big way. So if you're near Gillette, Wyoming, get out of the house and get to Lakeside Liquor. Lakeside, where your shift change is our happy hour.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Hear that? That's the sound of a founding father rolling in his grave. Spinning so fast it can actually turn one of our massive state-of-the-art turbine generators. That's a lot of energy. Free energy if we could only tap into it. Here at Founding Fathers Electric, we've found how to do just that. Each time a liberal speaks, a founding father spins in his grave.
What difference at this point does it make?
About 1.21 gigawatts of difference, Hillary. Spinning a turbine that powers America. A State of the Union address alone can keep the Northeast warm and toasty through the harshest polar vortex. One Pelosi quote.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Thank God for surge protectors. Since Ben Franklin was one of the first to experiment with electricity, he was one of the first we plugged in. Coming online soon on the East Coast, our 600-megawatt Jefferson generator. So close to Washington, D.C., it will be able to power most of the East Coast. Founding Fathers Electric, turning filthy liberal lies into electricity since 1933.
Come on, don't act like you don't know how this works. Glenn sits in a padded room, talks to himself, and guess what? You're the voices in his head. It's really creepy, but it works. Let's get back in there. Glenn Woods is back on the air.
Okay, so I've been tracking a story. I told you a little bit about it yesterday, but it's happening in Nevada with a company called Uber, and I sent them a message because I want to give them a little award. Well, I decided just over the past weekend or so here that there's an award that needs to be given out for those people that are fighting hard for liberty. And it may just be a little verbal thing, unless we can find something to send them. But I'm thinking that Uber is a company that needs, because they are defying the authorities and taking the court and taking this whole thing to court. And this, they're also getting the citizenry involved. Here's what Uber is for those who don't know. Let's say you're in a major city and you want to call a cab. You get on the street corner. There's an app for that. You push the app. Up comes a picture of the car that's coming because it doesn't look like a regular cab. The person driving the car owns the car. They put like a big mustache on it so you can tell it's them, okay? You get a picture of the person behind the wheel as well. And you get in the car and head down the road. They're going to take you wherever you want to go like a cab. So this is much more efficient already. And the app then prompts you to rate your ride to see if your driver's good. If they're not good, well, they get fired. So they got to be a good ride. This is what Uber does, and it's far more efficient and far less expensive than regular cab services. That's why all over the country, regular cab services are using the force of government to try to shut Uber down. So in Nevada, they're fighting. They've been ordered to stop. They're not stopping. They continue to hire people. They continue to put them out on the street in defiance of the orders coming from cities like Reno, and I even believe on the state level they're trying to stop it as well. But cities like Reno are trying to stop, and they're saying, no, you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to shut us down. It's illegal. You can't do that. And people are signing up to become Uber drivers in defiance. And there's a petition that so far as of today has 10,000 signatures on it in Reno, Nevada, but that number might grow. This is what I'm talking about. This is how you fight this stuff. I've had people in Reno tell me, well, no, it's a bad idea because, I mean, you know, cab drivers. Well, cab drivers can't compete. How would you like it instead of shutting Uber down, how would you like to make it so cab drivers could compete? You know how you do that? Get government off the backs of the cab companies. Well, in order for a cab company to become a cab company, there's so many rules and regulations they have to comply with. It gets extraordinarily expensive to run a cab service. Well, if Uber is showing you a better way to do it, why shut down Uber? Instead, why not take on Uber's idea? I think that would be a much better way to go. By the way, there's a study that I just found dealing with this whole thing. I'd just like to place this right in front of the bureaucrats and politicians. Low fares of competing taxis and ride-sharing services enable their companies to serve low-income communities. So in other words, poor people get to go riding around in Uber cabs because they can't afford a regular cab. Also, a lot of people in poor communities have found part-time work. But what's the government's answer to this? Well, we got to shut it down. You can't have, no, we can't do this. We've spent decades making sure that our friends in the cab companies have a virtual monopoly. So while taxi regulations are commonly cited as a means to protect consumers from high prices, in fact, it's those very regulations that make the prices high. And Uber found a way around it. Quoting here, by increasing the number of vehicles in operations, well, that forces companies to expand their services into new areas. No one wants to increase rates. They find cheaper ways of doing things, and more people become drivers, and in a time when the economy's not doing so well. In a time when the economy is not doing so well, what do you find? You find people who need a job doing anything can, well, if you got a car, a good car, okay, well then you can just go ahead and put that mustache on your car and go driving around for Uber. It's very easy to get the job. And if you show that you're good at the job, you'll keep the job, which will help you get the next job if the economy decides to turn around at some point. Well, the competition between ride-sharing companies like Uber and Lyft enables riders to drive at a rate that is actually affordable, even to people in poor communities. Once again, here come the bureaucrats. Oh, this has to be shut down. Now, I mentioned poor people. I have to be careful, apparently, because mentioning poor people is racist. Oh, you're going to love this one. Have you ever heard about jail and bail as a way to raise money for some cause? You ever heard about that? Okay. This is where your friend goes to a fake jail and has to sit there and raise enough money to get out of jail. It's a way to raise money for charity. Did you know that apparently that is racist? I mentioned poor people, and apparently mentioning poor people is, well, obviously I'm talking race here when I talk about poor people, right? I'm not kidding. Hang in there. I'm going to tell you about it next.
I'm Trinity Lewis, and this is Black Hills Weekend. Doors are a bit creakier, people a bit sneakier, and your favorite little pumpkins a bit squeakier as they get excited for Halloween fun. Welcome everyone, we're so glad you could join us for this Black Hills Weekend as we wrap up October and head into November. Yes, it is Halloween week, of course. Our first stop begins in Hot Springs as we dive into Halloween fun at the world-famous Evans Plunge. The entire family is invited for a spooktacular party Thursday night. The fun includes a scavenger hunt, fishing in a pool. I was a little concerned too. Bobbing for apples, watermelon football, and water basketball. It costs just $3 to get in, but it's free to members. Again, it's tomorrow night at Evans Plunge in Hot Springs. We'll provide a link below. Next stop, it's Spearfish for 2 days of holiday fun. It begins with the Youth and Family Fall Carnival Thursday night at the Spearfish City Park Pavilion from 5 until 8 p.m. Games, booths, prizes, and of course, lots of candy. Tickets are just 50 cents, and most games are 1 to 2 tickets. Then on Halloween night, from 5 to 8, the pavilion welcomes all ghosts and goblins for a free and safe indoor trick-or-treating sponsored by several area businesses. And on both Thursday and Friday night, there will be a haunted hike through the Spearfish City Campground. It's 1.5 miles long, but there is a shorter and less spooky route for the younger ghosts and goblins. Just click the link below for all of the rest of the 411. Next, we're in Rapid City and Belle Fourche for a fun twist to traditional trick-or-treating. That's right, it's the trunk or treat. Churches in 2 of the Black Hills communities offer a safe night of family fun. Both locations, Real Life Church in Rapid City and Christian Life Center in Belle Fourche, will have car trunks decorated for the festivities and full of candy. There will also be inflatables to bounce on, games to play, and hot chocolate and coffee to sip on. Both begin at 6 in their respective towns. Again, that's Real Life Church in Rapid City and Christian Life Center in Belle Fourche. Links and directions, of course, provided below. The Central States Fairgrounds in Rapid City isn't full of cows and sows right now. In fact, every night this week through Halloween, they will have a Terror in the Dark haunted house, as well as the Halls of Mayhem Extreme Maze. It happens in the Soleil building at the fairgrounds, which will be open from 7 till 10. The #1 goal of the group that conducts this fun event is to raise money for local youth charitable programs. Finally, for the very brave, how about a haunted house? At I-90 exit 17 is Elk Ridge RV Park. They'll have a haunted house like you won't believe. Although it is not recommended for the young and easily frightened, older Halloween enthusiasts should be well entertained. It's just $5 to attend, 6 to 10 p.m. both Thursday and Friday night. Again, that's at the Elkhorn Ridge RV Park, exit 17 off I-90 near Spearfish. Well, there are so many fun events happening as we head into Halloween weekend. That's right, Halloween. We're coining a new phrase. There's no excuse to sit at home. Don't push pause. Push play this weekend.
Yeah, I know, Mom, but they offered me more money to produce Glenn's show now that it's syndicated. Sure, I know. Stocking shelves at Walmart at 2 a.m. has a heck of a lot more prestige than... Whoa, hang on, Mom. Be right back. Let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods. Oh, come on, Mom. Stop crying.
I hate to break it to you guys, but you're racist. Well, no, you're racist. You just didn't. Maybe you didn't know that you were racist, but you're racist. My name's Glenn Woods. Bold Republic is on the radio. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093, and pretty much everything I'm talking about and a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. So, okay, here's the, and by the way, before I get into the story, once again, I am all in favor. I am encouraging you. If someone ever accuses you of something like this, like I'm about to tell you, don't back away, don't shy away, get in their face about it. They win because oftentimes people like us, we don't want a confrontation, so we back off, and that's why they win. And if they threaten you with whatever, your answer is bring it on, and you fight back. Remember that? I've talked to her a few times on Facebook. I thought she was great. I think she's a great lady. I love. I should contact her again and have another conversation. This woman, I believe, lived in North Carolina. She's a mom whose daughter showed up with a dress on that was perfect. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with the dress. But, oh, no, she has to be humiliated because it's like a millimeter too short or something like that. And so the mom showed up at graduation. Oh, by the way, she was suspended, all sorts of things. Mom shows up at the kid's graduation the next week wearing the exact same dress right in front of the teachers. That's what I'm talking about. We're not going to, for those people who keep saying, Glenn, we got to take the country back, and that's how you do it. You are free people in a free country. Don't let these people intimidate you. You're going to have to get in their face, fight back, and realize you're fighting back in most cases against stupid people. The only thing they have is they try to intimidate you. Here's the story. So you probably heard about this. Students at Northwest University discovered an exciting new race card after a sorority, love these names, Kappa Kappa Gamma. To me, that sounds like an energy drink, but okay. And another one, Zeta Beta Tau or something like that, did a jail and bail fundraiser. Now, here's what a jail, if you've never experienced one, here's what it is. You get a phone call. One of your so-called friends decided to turn you in. Yeah, some friend. Okay, so you're going to raise money for a charity. So on certain date and certain time, you're supposed to turn yourself in. Sometimes they make a big deal out of it. They'll actually have some police officers come get you and cuff you and drive you off, but it's all ha, 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 right? And you get taken to a really nice restaurant. They set you up. There's food there. There's drink there. It's all on the house. Now, you get your picture taken behind bars wearing a yellow prison jumpsuit. You know the kind. You see them on television all the time. Then you're supposed to sit down at the phones, and you're supposed to call your friends and families and coworkers until you've raised the bail. So let's say your bail was set at $10,000. Well, you're not really allowed to. They'll let you go. I mean, if you don't raise $10,000, they'll let you go. But the idea is you're supposed to raise $10,000, then you're out of prison, you've bailed yourself out. It's just a really neat fundraising tool. Lo and behold, someone at this university, they're putting people in yellow jumpsuits and putting them behind bars in a jail and bail for charity. That's racist. How is that? Would somebody please explain to me how the hell is that racist? Are they just naturally assuming that everybody in jail is a minority? Is that the deal? Well, okay. After the event was announced last week at this university, a small group of critics, now understand what I just said there, a small group of critics began to condemn it online. And they don't even have the guts to show up. They just get online and start condemning it. They were particularly upset that some sorority members posed in a publicly shot, well, and again, those orange jail-like jumpsuits. Quoting here, you're attacking aspects, the orange jumpsuits of the oppressed system that operates as a massive, this is what they wrote online. Not my words, this is what they wrote online. Quote, you're employing aspects, the, whatever that's supposed to be, the orange jumpsuit of an oppressive system that operates as a massive encumbrance to the lives and literacy rates of black and brown children, said some people on Facebook. You should all be ashamed. And so the whole thing was shut down because the college students that were trying to do the fundraisers became intimidated by this. I can't say what I really want to say on the air, so I use a different expression. What you do is you get on their own Facebook page and you tell them to pound sand. There, that's something that I can say on the air. You know what I really mean by that, right? Okay. And you can go ahead and use whatever creative language that you like. Then you go and do your fundraiser. And if a bunch of reporters show up, well, they've accused you of racism. Well, they're a bunch of stupid idiots, and we're not going to listen to it. Did you actually come all the way down from the television station? Really? Because these guys think this is racist? Are you as dumb as they are? See, that's the answer. You want to know how you take your country back? Well, you just expose their stupidity and call it out for what it is. Step 1. OldRepublic.com.
Yeah, it seems the Higgs transponder flagellated your subtwell drive and capacitated your moron circuit.
Does your mechanic speak another language?
So I figured we reversed the polarity on the latch trigger and transposed the Weller circuit, and that should do it.
Some mechanics take advantage of the fact that you can't speak or understand them.
Yep, this is going to do it, but it's going to be expensive.
But at Ideal Auto, we speak your language.
This broke. Me fix. Affordable.
Now, anybody can understand that. Get your car repaired with the people who speak your language. Ideal Auto, 2901 Dogwood Avenue, Wyoming, 307-686-2259.
Daydreaming, son. It's time to get prepared. Time to get off your sofa and run yourself down to Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. Oh, my. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Civilian soldier, they got everything you could need. That's right, the surplus is unlimited. Surplus Unlimited ammo for babies and adults.
That's right, babies need camos too.
10 different styles of camo.
Oh, don't you look pretty.
550 cord, numerous colors, wool blankets, boots, hats, gloves, coats, shirts, tactical vests and belts, camping supplies, high-quality army cots, and that hard-to-find P38 can opener. Save time, save money. Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. 801 Carlisle on the Douglas Highway across from the fishing lake. Gillette, Wyoming.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline McKinney, owner of Fast and Furious Detailing. Do you need your RV or toy hauler cleaned before summer? We will get it ready for you, so all you have to do is go have some fun. Or how about after summer fun, we can clean it up. We will even wash all of your bedding for you. Does your boat have dark film all around the outside of it? No problem. Fast and Furious Detailing is a full-service detailing company. We detail cars, SUVs, trucks, RVs, toy haulers, boats, ATVs, UTVs, and motorcycles. Fast and Furious Detailing hopes you can find everything you need. Our company is focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. With a variety of offerings to choose from, we're sure you'll be happy working with us. We're located at 5753 South Winland Drive, and our phone number is 307-682-2470.
Hello, my name's Vicki Tuning, and I live in Gillette, Wyoming. I'm with the nonprofit group Citizens Protecting Wyoming. Citizens Protecting Wyoming is a nonpartisan organization that is hosting a statewide rally on the steps of the Capitol building Saturday, November 1st at 11 a.m. I really appreciate this great opportunity to invite all of you statewide to attend this important event. This rally will center around Matt Mead's Refugee Resettlement Program. We the people need answers. Citizens Protecting Wyoming wants to invite everyone statewide to join us on the steps of the Capitol building in Cheyenne, Wyoming, November 1st at 11 a.m. For more information, contact us at info@citizensprotectingwyoming.org or at 307-441-4230. I look forward to seeing everyone there.
Hello, my name is Carl, and I'm running for Congress in your district. I'm not an expert in anything. Nothing. Not a thing. But I sure know how to look like I know what I'm talking about, and that's why I'm electable. I'm not an expert on guns, or finance, or science. Heck, I flunked science in school 3 times. I know nothing about automobiles or engines of any kind. I know nothing about energy. Gas, coal, oil, green energy, whatever that means. I've never held a gun in my life, and actually I'm kind of scared to. But if you elect me into office, I promise to pass laws regulating everything that I know nothing about. I promise to act like the expert that I never really could be, because I cannot pass the test to get a job in that field to save my life. But I can regulate it. Yes, that's what America needs today. Experts in nothing to regulate everything. After all, isn't that what government does best?
Yeah, I know, Mom. But they offered me more money to produce Glenn's show now that it's syndicated. Sure, I know. Stocking shelves at Walmart at 2 a.m. has a heck of a lot more prestige than... Oh, hang on, Mom. Be right back. Let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods. Oh, come on, Mom. Stop crying.
Citizens of Wyoming and surrounding states, this one's for you. So you've heard a lot about this resettlement program for refugees. Well, apparently the governor says that a few of you, since I was just talking about racism, a few of you people out there are being racist about this. All right, well, let's take a look what the governor has to say. This was posted by the Casper Star Tribune. Quoting here, let's not have a debate in terms of that none of us would be proud of, says Governor Meade, about racist comments and online discussions about refugee resettlement. So again, from the Casper Star Tribune, Cheyenne, some of the opinions on the internet about refugee resettlement in Wyoming are inaccurate and racist, according to Governor Meade. So Wyoming is the only state, I didn't know this, but according to the Casper Star Tribune, the only state without a formal refugee settlement program. I didn't know all the other states were doing it, but okay. There are likely refugees living in the cowboy state, Meade said in an interview Wednesday with the Star Tribune. At this point, Meade is working with volunteers to gain more information about establishing a refugee program in the state. Wyomingites will get to comment on the program because they always have a comment period. But some corners of the web have exploded now with all sorts of allegations that the state is recruiting refugees or that Wyoming is already has a refugee program. The governor says that's completely untrue. For instance, a blog called Refugee Resettlement Watch has a picture of a Gillette man and his family with the headline, "The Man Who Started the Wyoming Refugee Controversy." The Refugee Resettlement Watch site on Facebook, run by a Maryland resident, also lists crimes committed by refugees throughout the state, and in one place asks, are you ready for this in Wyoming? In terms of the comments, this is a quote, in terms of the comments I've seen, some of those two in particular, the racist comments, Governor Meade said, I don't think that represents Wyoming, but it's hard to see and hard to read. And some of them, frankly, he says, I won't read. Refugee settlement in Wyoming, he said, says the governor, is a worthy debate. He says, let's not have a debate in terms that none of us would be proud of. Well, okay. So far, I can agree with him on it. Now, the Gillette man whose family picture is online is a man who's a refugee from the Dominican Republic of the Congo who got a scholarship to the University of Wyoming. So you know. He now has a family and teaches math and coaches soccer at Campbell County School District. He did not reply to the Casper Star Tribune for anything about this. The refugee resettlement program began in the United States after World War II, resettling Europeans displaced after the war. The refugee, quoting here again from the governor, it's also designed so that if there's a conflict in such and such part of the world, people have a place to go to. And in most cases, according to the governor, the refugees that are being resettled, well, if you went, for example, to Montana, you might find maybe about 10 people up there. So it's not as much as you might think, according to the governor. Hang on, I'll finish the story in just a minute, because this is important, not just to Wyoming, but surrounding states, because apparently all states have a refugee program of some kind, according to this article.
America is at a crossroads on many issues, leading many to ask, is it time for President Obama to blow the silver horn left behind by the Founding Fathers in case the country ever needed them? Of course, the horn, which has been sitting in the Oval Office since 1817, has never been used by a commander-in-chief, but many Americans think now might be the time to summon our forefathers.
You know, if I could blow the horn, I would. Whatever the problem is, you know those guys can fix it.
Halfway through Obama's second term, and it seems the country's more divided than ever. I think he should blow that magic horn.
Joining me now are Glenn Chatterton and Linda Hudson. Glenn, we all know the enchanted horn was passed down to future presidents with the understanding that it was only to be blown in times of great difficulty. Does this qualify? We don't want to waste their time.
Of course we don't, Michael, but it's right there on the back of the Constitution. In times of great and dire need, once in every century, this silver horn the founders shall heed should a president summon we. The bottom line is this. Americans have the right to be magically saved by their founding fathers.
Yes, but is this really a time of dire need? If we sound it now and the founding fathers fix everything with their superior intellects, we'd strip our children and grandchildren of that right.
Glenn, hypothetically, if Obama were to blow the horn this year, which founding fathers would come back?
All of them. Look, when you have a bug problem, you call the exterminator. When you have an America problem, you call the founding fathers. They know what to do.
A lot of people are wondering if after being awoken from their centuries of slumber, would the founding fathers be able to fully understand many of today's problems?
That's a valid question.
Come on. Ben Franklin was a genius. He invented the bifocals. I'm sure he can invent something to save the environment. And Jefferson handled spying during the Revolutionary War. So there's the NSA solved.
We have to keep in mind the founding fathers left us with a warning. If you blow the horn with less than pure intentions, it will turn to tin and can never be used.
But a president has to take risks. Obama should have the courage to admit that his administration is not all-knowing, and blow that magic silver horn to summon someone who is.
Yes, but what if we become too reliant on them and they disappear after the next new moon, as was written?
Yeah, that's why I support Congress's plan to entrap them using technology and keep their strong and capable hands on the helm forever.
Yeah, well, in a perfect world, but I am a realist.
So it's the last 7 minutes of this hour of the radio program. Bold Republic is on. My name is Glenn Woods. And by the way, if you want to find out more about the show, and if you're not on a radio station in your area, by the way, just go to boldrepublic.com. And you can find out all the information and past shows as well, plus special features there. It's all there. boldrepublic.com. Go to the show archives, go to the Daily Weirdness page, and reading assignments especially. So I'm talking about the state of Wyoming, which apparently, according to the article I'm reading, is the only state around that doesn't have a refugee program. And there are people in the state of Wyoming that are worried because the governor has been looking into possibility of a refugee program. And what this means is all over the world, there are people who legitimately are living in countries where, well, let's take China, for example. If you speak out against the government, you'll end up you're going to die, or you're going to become a refugee in another country. So they flee to America. What becomes of them? So oftentimes they join a refugee resettlement program, and they are placed somewhere. And Wyoming, being a small population, I guess for some reason, is one of the, well, probably the only state out there that doesn't have a refugee resettlement program, according to this article. Now, Governor Meade of Wyoming said Friday that the discussion of a program is just in its preliminary stages. People will have a chance to comment on it. There's a rally, by the way. We've been running commercials because there's a group out there that wants an educational rally in Cheyenne, Wyoming this weekend. Governor's office is looking into federal laws that understand the program. The governor doesn't want to spend any money on it. So Wyoming would work with the U.S. Office of Refugee Resettlement, and he says as you look at it, Montana has about 10 individuals. I think what I'm hearing that some people are afraid of is that, for example, illegals pouring over the border. Now, this I think is legitimate. Illegals, the children that are currently pouring over the border from South America. I'm not saying Mexico, from South American countries. Many of them are fleeing because they're gang-ridden countries. You got a choice. I mean, it's like living in Detroit or Chicago or someplace like that. You're going to join the gang or else. And so they pack up and they leave because of the situation in their country, crime, politics, and so on. They come to America. They have been classified as refugees. And so what a lot of people are worried about is during this past summer, how many tens of thousands? I lost track. The number was pretty high. Children, refugees, came pouring over the border into America. Where are they now, by the way? When's the last time you heard a story about this? The number of those children pouring over our border, it's greatly been reduced. It's not like it was during the course of the summer, but people are worried that that's going to come pouring into a state that population-wise, state of Wyoming is small, and I don't trust, here's the thing that I really don't trust, when the federal government says to the state of Wyoming or any other state, this is not going to cost you a dime. Do you believe that? So as the governor looks into this, I have some serious questions. Are you sure we're just talking about refugees from some country like in the Congo or some communist country? Let's say somebody actually flees North Korea and makes it to America, and we're going to resettle them in Wyoming for a while because they're a refugee. Well, what about those kids that came pouring over the border this past summer? They were called refugees. Are we talking about them? And it's the same reason someone like me, well, it's a similar reason. Someone like me doesn't want to do Medicaid expansion because we're told, hey, the government, the federal government's going to give us all this money. Federal government doesn't have all this money. Federal government is stinking broke. Where do you think all this money was going to come from? Okay, they don't have it. So when the federal government says, oh, don't worry, we'll foot the bill if we send a bunch of refugees to your state. Now, some of the people out there who are opposed to the refugee resettlement program right away pictured, and I've just heard from some people who've said this to me, so I'm just repeating what they've said. They picture FEMA camps. There is no such thing. I'm sorry, there's not. There's not some enclosed barbed wire camp in the state of Wyoming like you saw back in World War II when we interned the Japanese like that. That currently does not exist in the state of Wyoming. But that's what they say that they're afraid of. Well, okay. Do what they should do what they said they were going to do. They're going to head down to Cheyenne, Wyoming this Saturday. They're going to hold a rally. They're going to sit and talk to each other. Try to bring the governor into the discussion. And I would think the smart thing to do for Governor Meade is to step out and talk to these folks. They're going to be on the Capitol steps for a while. If it's deemed safe anyway, I don't think there's any danger to his life, step out and have a conversation with these folks about refugee resettlement and explode a lot of the myths that you heard out there. Okay, but you know what my concerns are now. What about those kids that were classified as refugees who came from South American countries this summer? And man, did they overwhelm the system? And they still are overwhelming the system. You just haven't heard anything about them in the news for a while, but they've still overwhelmed the system. And where did they go? Are they still being held? Or some of them have been sent to, well, federal government did set up places for these young people to go. That worries me, and it worries me that when the feds say, oh, don't worry, it's not going to cost you a dime, it's going to cost us plenty. All right, final hour of the program just ahead. Hang in there.
Federal Elections Commission Vice Chair Ann M. Revelle says it's time to end the Internet's free ride when it comes to campaign ads and regulate them on the Internet just like they already are on your local TV station. Now, is this an idea whose time has come, or is it yet another ploy to stifle free speech? I'm Steve Green. This is Trifecta, and with me now the rest of your Trifecta crew, Scott Ott and Bill Whittle. Gents, back in 2006, the FEC exempted free Internet sites like Mind at Vodka Planet or Scrapple Face or Eject, or even Daily Kos, exempted them from the rules and that the TV and radio stations or even paid sites already play by. So late on Friday, Ann Revelle released a memo outlining her plans for taking these existing rules and implementing them more widely. Here's what she wrote. She said the commission failed to take into account clear indicators that the Internet would become a major source of political advertising dominated by the same political organizations that dominate traditional media. Since its inception, this effort to protect individual bloggers and online commenters has been stretched to cover slickly produced ads aired solely on the Internet but paid for by the same organizations and the same large contributors as the actual ads aired on TV. Now, Scott, as a rule of law conservative, don't you agree that bloggers should have to play by the same rules as everybody else, especially when it comes to expensive ads produced by organizations founded by, well, say, the Koch brothers?
Well, to tell you the truth, I was all for the heavy regulation of political advertising as long as I was exempted. I mean, it just seemed right to impose that kind of regulation on other people. But now that they're trying to put it on me, I've come to a different view suddenly. You know, here's my view on this is actually they shouldn't regulate any of it. It should be free speech. And if somebody wants to get on TV and lie their tail off, they should get on TV and lie their tail off and face the consequences for that. The great thing about the Internet age is that we have fact-checking out the wazoo now being done by people who used to be considered rank amateurs, but who actually have more expertise than most people in the mainstream media do, or at least collectively we do. So I'd say let politicians say what they will and let the market sort it out instead of the government trying to come up with, you know, the latest regulation that will, it'll be like campaign finance reform. The moment they put this regulation in place, somebody will figure out a way to go around it and do something else. It's absurd.
Well, of course they will. Free speech, radical concept, dangerous stuff. All right, now, this isn't the first time the FEC has looked into removing these exemptions. Going back now to Revelle's memo, she says, unfortunately, in its earlier efforts at dealing with the Internet's impact on campaign finance, the Commission received only limited feedback from those most knowledgeable with the relevant issues, that is, Internet developers and technology entrepreneurs. When devising policies with far-reaching impact, it is incumbent on the Commission to consult the relevant community of professionals and the public to inform our decisions. Okay, Bill, obviously the issue of who should be allowed to spend how much on high-tech internet sites like ours, well, it's a tricky one. Shouldn't these things be decided by a relevant community of professionals working hand-in-hand with a bipartisan Washington Commission?
What's tricky about it? There's nothing tricky about it. Scott's absolutely right. Just leave it alone. Now, she said that this exemption might be revoked in the case of slickly produced Internet videos, so fortunately Trifecta doesn't have anything to worry about. But with that said, we are really looking at, I think, what we are coming to accept almost as the new normal, and that is this idea of like a free speech zone on campus. You know, you hear these students who've got like pamphlets or something. It's like you can't discuss that here. Why not? You have to go over there to the free speech zone. We saw this the first time these free speech zones appeared, and that was the whole country is a free speech zone. So they have no business regulating anybody's speech for any reason whatsoever, period, full stop, end of sentence. Now, the thing that is so interesting about the Internet is this. We are seeing the entire federal government as it exists today is a result of a second wave industrial era top-down centralized command structure. The first wave government of this country was much smaller and much more willing to mind its own business. And the reason that this thing gets under their skin so much is because places like PJTV and Drudge Report and all the rest are not under their control, which means that mean people can say bad things about Democrats, and that must not be allowed. And for those of you who think that this might just be a tempest in a tea party, as I said in a commentary I'm doing on this very subject, the fact remains that the FEC will have the authority to regulate and therefore punish speech that it alone decides is not in the best interest of the Democratic Party. And if you don't think that can happen, just look at what's happened with another large government agency, namely the Internal Revenue Service, which, like the FEC now, is being weaponized against the American people in direct contempt of the First Amendment rights that we have, in the same way that the NSA is weaponized against the people in violation of our Fourth Amendment rights. This has to stop somewhere, Steve, and I'll tell you where it's going to stop. It's going to stop on the internet.
It's the Obama administration bankruptcy liquidation sale. Everything must go. Solar panels at greatly discounted prices. Get them now before we throw them in the trash. Windmills bigger than you've ever seen. Never before driven. Limited mileage. Chevy Volts at rock bottom prices. Get them now before they catch on fire too. It's the Obama administration liquidation bankruptcy sale. If it's green, it's gone.
Everybody in Cleveland, no minority, got Obama phone. Keep Obama in president, you know?
The reality of a lot of the North Pole starting to evaporate.
Read the bill. What good is reading the bill if it's 1,000 pages and you don't have 2 days and 2 lawyers to find out what it means?
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Obama and Biden want to raise taxes by $8 trillion. Guess what? Yes, we do.
If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
There is no terrorist threat. Yes, there have been horrific acts of terrorism, and yes, there will be acts of terrorism again. That does not mean that there's just some massive terrorist threat.
In the February issue of Esquire magazine, Blagojevich said, quote, "I'm blacker than Barack Obama."
If I lived in Massachusetts, I'd try to vote 10 times. I don't know if they'd let me or not, but I'd try to. Yeah, that's right. I'd cheat to keep these bastards out. I would.
I won't have to worry about putting gas in my car. I won't have to worry about paying my mortgage. If I help him, he's going to help me.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Let me be really clear about this. The first thing that I'm going to say to start this hour is going to be completely boneheaded, insensitive, and is going to be seen as racist. But I'm just going to go for it. So let's go. I mean, why not? Why not just go for it? Last hour of the program. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number 307-363-4093. That's 307-363-4093. Pretty much everything I talk about and a whole lot more. My website is boldrepublic.com. So, okay. If American Standard Media, you will see some people sitting there in the front office of American Standard Media that look, well, I was about to say like normal people, but we'll just go ahead and say normal-ish. Okay, but very nice people. One of them is a guy by the name of Dan. He'll greet you when you come through the door. Well, as Dan sits there in the front office of American Standard Media, you will notice that Dan has a little clicking noise most of the time at his desk. Why would Dan have a clicking noise there at the front desk? Because he has proudly Mexican jumping beans on his front desk. Now, over the past few days, the Mexican jumping beans have not been jumping as much. And we've been a little bit concerned about the little Mexican jumping beans. And I've made various comments about them, like, I don't know why the Mexican jumping beans wouldn't be jumping so much. I mean, do they need do we need to wet their backs? You tell me. Then I came up with a great idea. If Dan, on his desk, since the Mexican jumping beans are not jumping that much anymore, they seem to have sort of lost their vigor. If Dan were to construct a fence and like a barrier of some kind, and put the Mexican jumping beans on the southern side of that fence and just sit back and wait, would the Mexican jumping beans suddenly get active and start jumping over the fence? Maybe then revitalizing the Mexican jumping beans that are in the front office of American Standard Media. I'm just tossing that out as a possibility. Now, for anyone who might want to call this radio program and say that the host is insensitive and racist and all this good stuff, my answer is get a sense of humor. Oh, by the way, bite me. I'm sorry, I am not going to spend my life wringing my hands worrying about stuff like this. Last hour, I told you guys the story about people who were trying to raise money for a charity, and they were shut down because, well, that's racist, and the stretch to make it racist was so far outside of reality. I can't believe any. Oh my God, we were accused of being racist. We better stop doing what we're doing. That's exactly the kind of reaction they want from you folks. Don't fall for it anymore. Don't do it. Don't give in to it. I'm asked on a regular basis how we take back the country. You take back the country, 1, by showing up, 2, by not putting up with this nonsense, 3, by fighting back. You want to accuse me of something? Okay, bring it on. There's consequences for that, Mr. Woods. Bring it on. And that's how you take the country. That attitude is how you take the country back. Okay? Yeah. Just trying to drop a little less. Oh, by the way, get a sense of humor while you're at it. I'm just sick and tired of people cracking perfectly good jokes and then, like the one I just did, there's perfectly good humor. And what do we get from the politically correct out there? You're not allowed to say something because that's insensitive. I don't have time for you. I'm sorry, I really just don't have time for you folks. I really don't. All right. So remember that hitching post wedding case? Now let's be clear about this. This is where there's a couple that opened up not a church. This is different. Not a church. There's a couple that opened up a wedding chapel called the Hitching Post. And they look like a sweet old couple. All right. They were ordered by the courts that they have to perform same-sex marriages. Now, my argument is, and I'm not trying to be discriminatory toward anybody here, but if there's somebody out there who wants to perform same-sex weddings, go ahead and do it. And for those people who don't want to do it, then don't do it. For those people who are a same-sex couple and you want to get married, well, if you come across someone who doesn't do same-sex weddings, okay, if that's the way you feel about it, you walk away going, jerk, and you go find somebody who will. There's plenty of people out there who will. You don't need to pick on the people who won't. There's plenty of people out there who will. You can go to Vegas and get Fat Elvis to give you a same-sex wedding. And on the buffet table during the reception are deep-fried, peanut butter-covered donuts or something like that. Go for it. I'm sure Fat Elvis won't turn you down. Why not enjoy something like that? Well, here's the story. The city in Idaho that went after that for-profit wedding chapel owned by the minister says they don't have to perform same-sex marriages. Initially, the city said its anti-discrimination law did apply to the Hitching Post since it was a commercial business. Earlier this week, the city attorney sent a letter to the couple, known as the Knaps, saying that the Alliance Defending Freedom has had a little talk with them, and the Hitching Post will have to become a non-profit to be exempt. Okay? But after further review, he determined the ordinance does not specify profit or non-profit. So in other words, here is a legal group that spends their time defending liberty. And there's several out there. Institute for Justice is one. There's several out there that do it. The Alliance Defending Freedom is another. God bless these people. And some of them do it on their own dime because, as you know, fighting City Hall, fighting government in general can really be expensive. So even accepting the legitimacy of public accommodation laws and the bad idea that the idea of expanding them over discrimination based on sexual preferences and so on, okay, even if the ceremony is not religious in nature in itself, the fact is being performed by a minister. So in other words, here's what the city originally said. You're a business that does weddings. You're not a church. Therefore, you have to perform same-sex marriages. But then they came back and said, on second thought, you're still an ordained minister, and we can't interfere with your Christian beliefs. I got a question on that real quick. Real quick question. What if the hitching post, and I'm very serious about this, what if the hitching post had been run by a Muslim couple? I'm just tossing that out there. Same exact business, but owned by a Muslim couple. I wonder if they would have ever gone after him in the first place. I really don't know. But I'm glad this organization showed up and set the city straight. And what did it take in this case? In many cases, winning battles like this just takes showing up for the fight, which is the biggest problem that you conservatives out there have. You wonder why the liberals are taking away your religious freedoms, Houston, Texas, for example. And the answer is, well, who's been showing up for the battle? We don't show up to the battle until we actually face a personal problem ourselves. And then, when a couple like this gets in trouble, people open up the newspaper and look at it and go, oh, that's horrible that these people are going through something like this. But how many people, after reading what this couple's going through, jump to their support? And this is what I was talking about in the first and second hour of the program. How many people actually get out there and lend actual support to these people? We don't rally together is the problem. And that's where we lose ground. We win when we rally together. In this case, it took some lawyers showing up at a small-time city hall and saying, you can't do that, here's why. And so this couple won. It takes the rest of us actually showing up on the scene, getting involved in the fight in some way or another. And if you don't have time to drive all the way to Idaho to help these people, well, and maybe not these people. This is what I was asking before. What can you do when you see something that important to get involved in the fight? All right. And just so you know where I stand on this, when it comes to same-sex couples, it's just not my business. It's none of my business. If you go to a Unitarian church, you can probably get the minister to marry a same-sex couple in a Unitarian church. Well, that's the Unitarian church's business. I'm not a member of the Unitarian church. It's none of my business. But on the other hand, a small-town Southern Baptist church somewhere in Arkansas, they probably don't want to do same-sex marriages. So I tell you what, leave them alone. And the same goes for the people who make the wedding cakes. I'm sorry, I can't. I mean, look, if you walked into a butcher shop, but it turns out that the family that owned the butcher shop were Muslim and they didn't do anything with pork, what would you do? File a lawsuit? I wouldn't. Oh, that's your religious beliefs? Okay. And I would go down the street and find a butcher that would take care of pork. All right? Leave their religious beliefs alone. That's fine by me. And I feel the same way when it comes to these chapels. All right, this time we won. Well, this time, this couple's religious freedom won. And it won because somebody showed up to the fight and gave them a hand.
Glenn Woods, BoldRepublic.com.
Wyoming citizens, I come to call your attention to a matter of utmost importance and urgency that will affect each of us. Governor Meade, in backroom meetings, has been working for years, as he describes, to implement a refugee resettlement program in Wyoming. Meade has contacted the U.S. government to formalize a public-private partnership. My point is, were you asked your opinion or support of this partnership? Meade didn't even discuss the issue with our legislature. This program introduces incompatible cultures within our own. Many refugees in other American communities don't accept any aspect of U.S. culture, values, or laws. Do you want Meade, like President Obama, taking hard-earned tax dollars designated for our citizens to pay for a refugee resettlement program? We cannot allow recent outbreaks of disease and threat of lone wolf terrorism to jeopardize the safety of our families. I am Wyoming proud and want to assure we all are, today and for our future generations. Will you please help me?
Paid for by Citizens Protecting Wyoming.
Hello, my name's Vicki Tuning, and I live in Gillette, Wyoming. I'm with the nonprofit group Citizens Protecting Wyoming. Citizens Protecting Wyoming is a nonpartisan organization that is hosting a statewide rally on the steps of the Capitol building Saturday, November 1st at 11 a.m. I really appreciate this great opportunity to invite all of you statewide to attend this important event. This rally will center around Matt Mead's Refugee Resettlement Program. We the people need answers. Citizens Protecting Wyoming wants to invite everyone statewide to join us on the steps of the Capitol building in Cheyenne, Wyoming, November 1st at 11 a.m. For more information, contact us at info@citizensprotectingwyoming.org or at 307-441-4230. I look forward to seeing everyone there.
Yeah, it seems the Higgs transponder flagellated your subtwell drive and capacitated your moron circuit.
Does your mechanic speak another language?
So I figured we reversed the polarity on the latch trigger and transposed the Weller circuit, and that should do it.
Some mechanics take advantage of the fact that you can't speak or understand them.
Yep, this is going to do it, but it's going to be expensive.
But at Ideal Auto, we speak your language.
This broke. Me fix. Affordable.
Now, anybody can understand that. Get your car repaired with the people who speak your language. Ideal Auto, 2901 Dogwood Avenue, Gillette, Wyoming, 307-686-2259.
Howdy, folks. This is Swede from Swede Specialty here in Gillette, and I'm here today with Mr. Wimpy. Mr. Wimpy, have you ever tried a home-brewed beer?
Oh, no, I only like Wimpy beer.
Would you like to try a home-brewed beer, Mr. Wimpy?
Well, okay, but just a sip. It looks kind of dark.
Just close your eyes and try it. Whoa. Well, Mr. Wimpy, what do you think of homebrew? Now, that's real beer, Pilgrim. So give Swede a call, 307-686-0588, or go to swedespecialties.com.
Hello?
It's your roommate.
Yeah, funny. I don't have a roommate.
Hi.
Where are you going? You can't just barge in here.
Why not? We share this apartment.
We what?
Well, the government might have given you this place, but I'm the one paying for it.
You are? Yeah. How do you figure that?
Ma'am, allow me to introduce myself. I'm a taxpayer.
You are? Wow. I've heard of you people, but I don't think I've ever met one before.
Oh, no, ma'am. We're just a small percentage of the population, but we pay most of the taxes.
So you're the one paying for all this stuff?
Yes, ma'am. I pay for your house, your food.
Electricity, my cell phone, my car, my gas?
That's why I'm here.
I still don't understand.
Well, you see, I pay so much in taxes, I can't afford any of this stuff myself. They've given it all to you. So I guess we're just gonna have to share.
Well, but
Look, where are the car keys?
Oh, no. I just bought that car.
Oh, no, ma'am. We bought that car, and I have to get to work so we can keep paying for all of this.
Oh, right. Over there on the counter.
See you at dinner. Oh, and since I'm paying for all this, I'm taking the master bedroom.
Oh.
So, yes, Glenn is pro-gun, but we only let him have one bullet, and we make him keep it in his pocket.
Sounds familiar.
Inside that man's body is a little child calling out for help.
Let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
So, I just want to toss this out for your edification. You got a kid in college? All right. Careful, of course, a lot of liberal professors and so on, but you got a kid in college? If your kid is ever done something like this as a kid in college, I would advise that you immediately get your kid out of the college and get him to something that is a vocational school, something like that, that's going to keep the kid busy. Right, here's the headline, and I got to edit it. Students organize a poop-in. There you go. Students organize a poop-in, gender-inclusive bathroom challenge is what they're calling it. I'm going to go ahead and put a picture up so everybody can see what this looks like, and don't worry, I'm not going to completely gross you out, but we have to have gender-inclusive bathrooms. I'll explain what that means in just a minute. So what's the deal with this then? All right. Yes, this, for those people watching by video stream, there's a bunch of college students sitting there on toilets out in front of some courtyard somewhere with newspapers acting like they're going to the John. So, okay, that's where this comes from. So, all right. Students at San Diego University, of course, aren't they supposed to be in class? Shouldn't they be learning something? Honestly here. Students at San Diego University hosted a poop-in. I'm editing the language here. Last Tuesday morning to protest non-gender inclusive bathrooms. The event's Facebook page says the goal is to, this is so important, it's important that college kids do this because, you know, the major issues facing the world today, this is one of them. They need to raise awareness to the advocacy of gender-neutral and non-gender segregated bathrooms for trans and gender non-conforming individuals. Gender segregation bathrooms can be spaces where they were not met with intimidation or harassment, run-ins with security or violence. These occurrences happen when people using restrooms, the police come in and, okay. And they even have a card for this. It's, again, the poop in. I'm editing the language. This is the card they'll hand you. Going to the bathroom is not a privilege, but a basic human right. Did you know that? Did you know that going to the bathroom is a basic human right? I did not know that. This is what college kids are doing. And you wonder why, when they get out of college, they can't get a job, because they were doing this. To raise awareness and demand more gender-neutral bathrooms on campus. Trans Action and Advocacy Student Coalition, okay, it's the task force, that's what they call themselves. And then it gives them their website information. It's on gender-neutral restrooms town hall meeting. So again, if you are the parent of a college student, and you see that your college student is attending things like this, I would say get your kid out of that college. And let me tell you what I do think. I'm not saying that protest isn't important. Let me tell you the protest that is important. This is huge. So there were some kids on a university campus that noticed that the university had a free speech zone. Remember this? Remember I told you about this? It was a little area. You had to go get a permit, and you were only allowed to speak at certain times for a certain length of times, and you can only cover certain subjects. And, of course, the free speech zone was way off where nobody ever walked, and the times that they wanted you to speak there, nobody was going to see you. And the restrictions put on what you could talk about. So what these kids did was they just walked around the university sidewalks, up and down through the university, handing out the Constitution. And when they were told to stop, they politely said no. Well, we have the free speech zone over there. No, our free speech zone extends anywhere that is U.S. territory. So no. And they continue to hand out the Constitution. Sorry, we're not going to comply with your free speech zone. First Amendment, you know. Now, that is an activity. If I had a kid in college and I found out my kid was doing that, oh my Lord, I'd be such a proud father. But if I see my kid sitting on a toilet with a bunch of other kids sitting on toilets reading a newspaper, we have to have a poop in, editing the language. Because, you know, gender inclusivity is so important here, because at that point I'm pulling my kid out of the school and I'm getting him into some kind of a trade school somewhere where he can actually learn something that's going to matter to this world. And that's what's happening on University Camp I today. Meantime, Dan, who's supposed to be working so hard up front, has put up the little Mexican jumping bean that I was talking about. For those people watching on video, there it is right there. I was talking about Dan and his Mexican jumping beans. Dan, I really do think if those jumping beans are not jumping, and this is the jumping bean cam, we'll keep an eye on them. If the jumping beans are not really jumping so much, I think what we need to do is wet their backs, and they'll just start hopping along. That's my theory anyway. Have you ever heard of the American Automation Association? Oh, probably not. We're a company that produces high-quality automation systems, the kind that replace employees, thus saving corporations lots of money and increasing their personal profits. Now, no doubt you've seen some of our inventions every day. The self-serve automated checkout at the grocery store, thus saving money on checkout clerks. The self-serve gas pump, that was us too. No need for an attendant. The ATM machine at your local bank. Yup, that was us. And so many more gadgets that are behind the scenes that you may not even know about, like the automation machine at this very radio station that eliminates the need for a full-time employee to man the board. On behalf of the American Automation Association, we would like to thank the Democrat Party for pushing a minimum wage increase up to $15 an hour. Each time the minimum wage is increased, we at the AAA get more business from companies looking to get rid of their lower wage employees and replace them with automation. A $15 an hour minimum wage increase would be a boom for our business. Also, thanks for heaping piles of rules and regulations on local companies as well, and taxes and Obamacare. Thanks to socialism, business at American Automation is booming.
Do yourself a favor. Don't just listen to the show. See what Glenn's talking about at boldrepublic.com. There you can watch the show live on YouTube or download the show and listen to it later. Now let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
Every day, the government finds another way to take your hard-earned money. You feel maybe it isn't safe even in your IRA anymore? Worried that what happened in the island nation of Cyprus might happen here in America? Well, worry no more, because we've brought back an old idea, first developed back in the days of the Great Depression. It's the money mattress. Yes, the specially designed mattress with pockets inside so you can safely stuff your money and sleep on it. What good is interest from a bank if the government's just going to tax it away? Sure, the bank might protect you from this kind of a thief, but the bank can't protect you from the government thieves. Money in a mattress. Our specially designed mattress allows you to tuck away your money safely and comfortably, so you don't have to worry about sleeping on hard, lumpy pockets of cash. And for those people who want extra safety and security, it's the Mattress Vault. Store your money safely, sleep on it, and know that it's locked away. Yes, there's no better security guard than the guy who's sleeping on his own money. Keep what you've earned. Keep your money safe from greedy government thieves with the Money Mattress and the all-new Mattress Vault. On sale now.
By now, we are familiar with that handy little message we get from the phone company that tells us it's time to pay our bill. But now, just for conservatives, and brought to you by the Tea Party, a handy little message that lets you know when you are paying someone else's phone bill. Yes, because most of us never bother to check the taxes on our bills, so we don't see that we are paying double the bill through state and federal taxes for the Obama phone program. Our new ringtone and message will help keep you riled up straight through the election season. And for those who like to really get pissed off, try the new app that lets you see the person you're paying for and even lets you hear what sort of calls they're making. I mean, why not? You're paying for it. And now through November 2014, you can have a Tea Party Obama phone app secretly attached to your liberal friends' cell phones. No extra charge.
the last half hour-ish of the program. My name is Glenn Woods. Bold Republic is on the radio. So a couple of things. First off, Jeff Foley sent me a message by the video stream, which you can do as well if you're watching by video. Do those students, and these are the ones that are doing the poop-in editing for radio, and do those students ever think about the transgendered bathrooms? And, okay, if you allow people to share their bathrooms, in other words, someone who identifies with another gender can walk into the ladies' room. He asked, do those students ever think about the perverts that will use the girls' rooms as the guys and so on? No, they don't. No, because we have the best of intentions. That would never happen. Of course not. Like, here's the way to do this. It's real simple. I'm going to get kind of... Now, Donna has been giving me thumbs down. For those people who do watch the video stream, don't listen on radio stations, you can vote thumbs up or thumbs down, depending on the topic. So every time I make one of the Mexican jumping bean jokes, by the way, the Mexican jumping bean camera has shown some activity there. See, just saw it right there. They're moving a little bit. Okay, well, she gives me a thumbs down every time I make a joke like, hey, if you wet their backs, they'll jump around a little more. I get a thumbs down on that one. All right. Well, if you really want a big thumbs down, go to the South Park episode that shows the gender-neutral bathroom thing. It was just a recent South Park episode. Watch that. But here's what I want you... Donna, you're going to give me another thumbs down, but I got to go there. Whoever you are listening to the show right now, look down between your legs. What do you got down there? That's the bathroom you go to. There, problem solved. But I don't identify. I'm a guy. I don't identify. Okay, fine. With other guys, fine. What you got down there? That's the bathroom you go to. Now, what about those people who were born with both? Well, okay, either there's an operation that could happen here, or you're going to have to pick one. I understand. But do you know what a small percentage of people spend their lives walking around with both? Folks, it does happen. But it's such a rare thing. And these students are making such a big deal out of it. I will stand behind and shout the praises of these students who are walking around handing out the Constitution and politely telling their college professors and administrators they're not going to get in the little free speech zone, because that's actually important. The whole gender-neutral bathroom thing is not, but okay. Liberals are upset about something else. You ever notice they're always upset about something? They're upset about something. And liberals are unhappy that National Public Radio is down to one reporter on climate change. I thought it was a big deal. Folks, I thought it was a big deal. Weren't you? We were told that we didn't have long left. I mean, 11 years ago, we were told that we had 10 years to go. Wow. So now what do we say when NPR, who has been on board for the whole climate change thing, it's all our fault, they have one reporter left to carry. Now, this can only mean one thing, folks. That's it. We're all doomed. It's over. There's no point in covering it anymore. We're all dead. NPR is just going to put one last reporter to tell you about how, climate doom is going to kill us all. Other than that, it's not even worth talking about anymore because it's over, folks. Well, that according to the story that's right in front of me. Here's the story. Richard Harris, widely known as NPR's climate science guru, he has reported on the international treaty talks since 1992, started covering the whole thing way back when, largely focused on Environmental Protection Agency, is no longer at NPR. That leaves one person left. A young lady, and that's the best they got. We were told that this was a catastrophic issue. We were told that we didn't have much time left. We were told, as I said, 11 years ago that we had 10 years to go. And then, well, who knows what after that. So apparently even NPR sees the importance of this as they cut their climate change staff back to one person. Well, I guess we should be losing sleep Obviously, they are.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance? Upgrade your roof. Upgrade your plumbing. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 686-5002. That's 686-5002.
Wimpy, are you still drinking that homebrewed beer the Swedes from Sweet Specialties help you to make?
Why, yes, dear. I sure am, whiny. Why do you ask?
We never have any good wine around here. I would like something really good.
All I hear around here is wine, wine, wine. Why don't you get the makings from Swede at Swede Specialties? He can help you make really good wine right here at home. Give Swede a call, 686-0588, or go to swedespecialties.com.
Stan, why are you wearing a sweater with a bullseye?
Because it's hunting season.
Right, so...
And there are hunters everywhere.
Okay, but why the bullseye?
Well, if everyone's been shopping at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports...
Oh, right, that's bad.
The way I figure it, we don't stand a chance.
Oh, good point. We don't stand a chance.
Might as well give them a clean shot. With everything you need for hunting season, Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, with locations in Casper, Gillette, Riverton, Sheridan, and Cody, Wyoming. Nice knowing you, Frank.
You too, Stan.
Did you hear? The government is giving away free guns. Yes, free guns. Gun manufacturers around the nation will be mandated to give every citizen a free gun with ammunition. As you know, the U.S. Constitution states that you have a right to bear arms. And since we've been told that anything that is a right, like health care, is given to you by the government for free, then that must mean that soon you'll be able to pick up your free gun. And since free contraceptives are also a right, then that means you get free bullets too. Yes, right now the U.S. government is borrowing money from China and future generations and raising taxes on the mega wealthy just to make sure that you get your free gun guaranteed under the Constitution. Because now anything that's a right in this country is given to you for free. Healthcare is a right, and you have the right to bear arms. It's your right.
No, Glenn, it doesn't matter if you're part owner of the company. No cigars in the studio. Oh, what is that smell? Put your shoes back on. I don't want to smell that. Look, if you want good talent, you have to put up with some bad habits. Let's get back in there with the original bad habit boy, Glenn Woods.
All right, last 15 minutes-ish of the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, okay, Pocahontas is back in the news. Now, for those who don't know who Pocahontas is, that would be Senator Elizabeth Warren, which, by the way, it doesn't surprise me. On the TV show The View, she was called a rock star. And there are people who want Senator Pocahontas to run for president. If you thought Obama was crazy, this woman is bat guano crazy, insane. And yet, and by the way, there's something that I post about her from time to time on my website. So, I mean, there's all sorts of different pictures of her. Princess Moonbat Feathers. I have for you, just so you know, the reason I'm talking about her is the latest that she said. And this woman, let's be honest about where she comes from and who she really is, and the hypocrisy, which she doesn't admit to because I don't think she's smart enough to realize her own hypocrisy. Senator Pocahontas Liz Warren lives in a $5.4 million mansion, claimed to be a Native American, which she was not, in order to score a Harvard gig as a minority that paid $350,000 a year to teach one class that she hardly ever showed up to. And now lectures you and I that the system is rigged to benefit the rich. This is Senator Pocahontas. Now, and I can go ahead and call her Senator Moonbat Pocahontas. Sure, why not? So yesterday, CBS This Morning, Senator Pocahontas blamed the Republicans for the Ebola outbreak in West Africa by suggesting funding cuts to certain programs were the culprit, which, of course, we've already talked about this, but truth doesn't matter to people like this. You want to go through it again? We'll go through it again really quick. First off, the CDC, for example, got more money under George Bush. It was President Obama who suggested cuts to the CDC, but they didn't happen. The CDC, Center for Disease Control, did receive a little bit of a raise under the Obama administration. No thanks to the Obama administration, but to Congress. In the meantime, I've given you guys a list of useless, stupid projects that the Center for Disease Control has spent money on, and where the money could have been toward finding a cure for things like Ebola. Quoting here, instead of making these investments up front, we wait for people to die. Not true, but she said it. Senator Pocahontas goes on to say, of course, I'm worried, but part of this reminds me this is why elections matter and why they matter over time. You know, she says, Ebola is not new. Oh, she got one thing right. Well, thank God for that. We've known about it for a long time. We're putting our money into funding Ebola, into funding it many years ago, and the Republicans have cut funding overall for medical research for the National Institutes of Health. Not true. Flat out a lie. Has already been proven to be a lie, yet she will continue to say it. She's lied all her life. Now we're going to spend billions of dollars in some real risk to our country. We can't just run, in one crisis to another, she says. What Congress is supposed to do is help us make investments early and make sure it keeps us all safe. So what does she do? Well, okay, let's go back and take a look at the problems here. Because you hear stuff like this, and some people believe it just because they heard it, and they never bother to do the kind of fact-checking I'm about to give you. Warren did not point out that in 2014, the Republican-controlled House increased Center for Disease Control spending $300 million more than was requested by Barack Obama. They increased it by $567 million since 2000. The Center for Disease Control budget has increased from $3.5 billion to $6.8 billion. No thanks to this president who actually tried to cut funding at times. Warren also attempted to blame Obama's unpopularity on Republicans with the CBS This Morning show. Why is the president so unpopular, said the reporter. Warren replied, let's remember that the Republicans said they were going to do everything they can to make sure he was a failed president. We're going to block his every move. The Republicans never said that. But no, they never did. It was the radio host Rush Limbaugh that says, I hope he fails. And right away, the Democrats, he wants America to fail. That's not what he said, and the Republicans never said any such thing. President Obama's agenda is bad for this country, and they wanted to make sure that his agenda failed. Never said anything about America failing. We're trying to stop the agenda of a radical leftist, a socialist, and that's a good thing. Here once again, Senator Moonbat Pocahontas, like my girlfriend Debbie Watcher gloriously expanding Big Butt Schultz, will say anything in the hopes that people out there who listen to her, who adore her, who love her, and the rest of the public, low information voters, will listen to this and never bother to stop and fact check it. And so they'll just believe it. And frankly, most people, I'm afraid to say it, I hate to say it, most people do just that.
Hello, welcome to Coffee Cabana. Our special today is the popular Mocha Mocha Kappa Mocha Kappa. What can I blend for you today?
Cup of coffee, please.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, just a regular size coffee, please. That's all.
Oh, I guess I don't understand.
What part of that don't you understand?
Well, for one, we have several different sizes: petite, medio, alto, forte, muy grande, and crescendo.
All right. I just want a small cup of regular coffee, please.
But
Okay, look. Point to the cup that's the smallest. Okay, there you go. That's the one.
Oh, okay, I see. And what would you like at that?
Coffee.
And?
Just coffee.
But we have syrups and powders and toppings and frappalapalattas.
Just coffee. Plain old coffee in a frickin' cup.
Oh,
Look, okay, take the cup. Perfect. Now, hold it under the coffee spout. Good. Now fill it up. There you go. Now, give it to me.
That's it?
Yes, that's all.
Well, how odd.
Whatever. How much?
$6.50, sir.
Sorry?
$6.50.
How is this little cup of coffee more expensive than a gallon of gasoline in my car? I didn't even add any frappa, lappa, mocha crap or whatever to it.
Well, sir, the beans are dried on solar panels.
Never mind.
And then we use wind power to generate. But we're green.
Look, I'll give you $20 if you don't say another word.
But
Good girl.
Might I suggest trading that for a decaf?
There's the Mexican jumping bean cam. Ooh, that was a good jump there. That's like a really good pop right there. Okay. Well, they're not going anywhere. Notice every time they jump, they try to go further north. I just noticing that. They never want to jump south. No. Okay. Mexican jumping beans for you, sitting there at the front desk with, there they go. Oh, wow. See, the one on the right is really doing well. The one on the left, I think, is probably dead, but okay. So, all right, let's go to a town, and there's nothing shocking here. Not even the stupidity is. Back to Massachusetts. I already gave you another Massachusetts story earlier in the program. Let's get back to Massachusetts now. That's become one of those places where when I say, hey, guess what happened in, and I name the place, you go, oh, God, not that. And what now? What are they doing now? Massachusetts town wants to ban all tobacco sales. Really? And that will help how? Well, let's read the story, and we'll find out exactly how this is going to help anything. Massachusetts town might become the first national in the nation to ban all tobacco sales, according to Boston Globe. Westminster, Massachusetts, town about 7,765, located northwest of Boston. The city website describes the community as a small New England village. It is a cute little place. I've been through it. Never really stopped. Been through it. Westminster Board of Health has recently issued a proposal that would prohibit the sale of products that contain tobacco or nicotine, such as cigarettes, chewing tobacco, e-cigarettes, within the village. Have you seen anything yet that would actually stop the activity? Because you can buy cigarettes all throughout Massachusetts. So if one town does it, okay, let's say all of Massachusetts banned the sale of tobacco. The whole state would do what? Let's say, much like with marijuana, the whole country banned cigarettes. Cigarettes are now illegal. And that worked how well with prohibition of alcohol? How well? Okay. That worked how well with the prohibition of marijuana? How well? I'm just saying, you can try to ban this stuff. It's going to have what effect? None. People who want to smoke cigarettes are going to do it. Quoting here, the use of tobacco in workplaces and the sale of tobacco to minors has already is already illegal in Massachusetts, and many towns prohibit smoking in public areas, which has had no effect whatsoever. In the city of New York, by the way, where they've done all of this, smoking is up, not down. More people are smoking, not less. There's studies I've given you in the past couple of months that have shown just that. Westminster proposal would be the first to ban sales otherwise to otherwise legal customers. Local business owners are concerned about the impact of the ban would have on their businesses and are petitioning the board to block the proposal. Quoting here, where do you draw the line? A candy ban because it causes diabetes? Are we going to ban bacon because it causes high cholesterol? Seems to be a slippery slope, that according to Brian Vincent, one sensible guy in the town, the owner of Vincent's Country Store. Vincent told the Sentinel Enterprise that tobacco sales consists about 5 to 6% of the sales, and that a ban would cripple his business. And you know something, the people there just don't care. And by the way, Massachusetts, this part of Massachusetts, they are just thrilled of their heritage. I lived in Concord, Massachusetts for about a year. Oh, they love Concord, Massachusetts. First shot of the Revolution, the Old North Bridge, Walden's Pond is right nearby. They are proud of their heritage. The first Unitarian church, founding fathers. Oh, by the way, since we're up on Halloween, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, would you like to visit the graveyard? It's right there. And some very famous people. It's right in the middle of town, in fact. And some very famous people are buried there. Very famous. And all of those people will be rolling in their graves over how Massachusetts has turned out, especially Concord, Massachusetts. You want to talk about Liberalville. The Board of Health argues that the ban would limit tobacco use in the community. The hell it will. I'm sorry, but the people in Massachusetts really do think, because I lived there, I can tell you, they do consider themselves to be intellectually superior to the folks in the South and flyover country. They are idiots. Westminster Health agent Elizabeth Swedberg, told the Globe that the board has grown increasingly frustrated by tobacco companies like marketing. This doesn't seem right, that they are permitting products that, if used as directed, 50% of the people die. Actually, let me correct that. 100% of the people die eventually of something. The idea that smoking cigarettes causes 50% of the people to die. Well, again, you can't just make up statistics. Is smoking cigarettes, a pack and a half a day bad for you? Sure it is, but let's not make up statistics here. And you're going to love this next one. So, they say, this would send a clear message to residents that it is a bad product. That, according to DJ Wilson, Nanny Stater, director of the Westminster Tobacco Control Program. Some business owners, such as, one guy with a liquor store, concerned that residents will simply go elsewhere to buy tobacco. You know what's going to happen? Okay, you're going to have the city limit of that town. And by the way, for those that are listening to me out here in the West, like Wyoming, Montana, Dakotas, when you drive from one town to the next, it's usually like an hour or more to drive from one town to the next, right? You're living around Massachusetts, you leave one town, you're in the next town immediately. So what's going to happen is these stores are just going to move over the city line, and people are just going to buy there, and not a damn thing is going to be accomplished. All right, but I don't know if they're actually going to ban it or not, but they seem to think it's a great idea because it would send a clear message and there would be less smoking. These are the naive people that have been elected to public offices around America. Tomorrow is Thursday. There's a lot to cover, including with Wyoming Liberty Group, and some other important people will be on the program. I'll close out today by giving you another view of those exciting Mexican jumping feet for those watching on camera. Yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow. See you then.